Hello world, welcome to the 11th annual CS50 Fair. The CS50 Fair is an epic display of all 800 plus CS50 students' final projects here at Harvard University at the very end of the semester. While we spend much of the semester working on programming assignments or problem sets, the final project of the course is truly the course's capstone, where students are invited to build and design and implement most anything of interest to them. And then today's CS50 Fair is all about exhibiting their final work. So behind me here are dozens of tables and dozens of balloons and so much more. Students haven't yet arrived, but in just a little while they'll be pouring in, as will be students, faculty, and staff from across campus. And let's take a look at some of the locations that students will have access to today. In addition to demonstrating their final project to all attendees today, we also have this tradition of a CS50 photo booth, born out of our tradition of videography and photography. The photo booth is an opportunity for students just to create some fun memories. For instance, here, they can take a sort of Instagram picture of themselves and then create a postcard out of this that will then post online. There's all sorts of fun swag. You might, for instance, recall this guy that's been featured in quite a few of CS50's Muppet-based films. And then, of course, we have some CS50 shades, so that as your star shines especially bright here at the CS50 Fair, you can go ahead and look all the cooler for it. Let's continue our tour. And of course, there is food. So much food. It's been a tradition here at the CS50 Fair for years to put out bags and bags and boxes of popcorn, and of course some snacks. We have some sweets here, such as chocolates, and then of course for healthier options, we have some fruit snacks as well. Let's head upstairs next. And there's even more space upstairs. Here on the balcony will be more students' final projects, some of our guests from industry, and when students check in, will they receive their very own I Took CS50 t-shirt. Indeed, we're here in the Smith Campus Center for the very first time. This is a brand new renovated space on campus that's open all day long to students and faculty and staff, as well as to all passersby. So we're looking forward to the grandest audience yet. Let's now take a look how we're going to capture all of this behind the scenes with CS50's production team. And here we have CS50's amazing production team here today to capture all of these memories. And behind me, in fact, is CS50's own Colton Ogden and Veronica Nutting here to moderate and commentate on today's entire event, tossing to some of our correspondents in the field. This then is CS50, and this is the CS50 Fair. Welcome.
Hi everyone, welcome to the 11th annual CS50 Fair. My name is Veronica Nutting.
My name is Colton Ogden. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We're live streaming to Facebook, to Twitch, to YouTube.
Wow.
And this is a special fair because we're actually in a brand new venue this year. What venue
This is
were
so cool. We're at the Smith Campus Center in the heart of Cambridge. And actually, I think we've just gotten the cue that we've got our first project.
We do already. Yeah, our first interview is going to be with Amelia Cabrera in the interview booth. The project's name is My Chord, and their slogan is, it's the composer's best friend. So why don't we go turn over to them.
Good Lord.
Did we beat Act 10 this year?
Hi, I'm Amelia Cabrera. I'm a TF here at CS50, and I'm here with Shafi and Ian, and they're going to tell me a little bit about their project, My Chord, the composer's best friend. So can you guys kind of give me a walkthrough through your project?
Sure. Ian, you want to start or should I?
Go ahead, go.
All right, so My Chord starts with this idea. You're a composer or a music theorist, or you're just in class. You've got a bunch of notes, maybe a bunch of sets of notes. You don't really know what chords you're dealing with, and you don't want to have to go through the circle of fifths over and over, right? Mm-hmm. So that's where our website comes in.
Exactly.
Take it
so
away.
What our website does is it takes an input of the number, it takes an input notes within chords, so you can choose the number of notes you want. Let's say we want to do 3 notes, and let's say we want to do 3-note chords. Mm-hmm. And what it does is, I'm just going to input some notes here, F, A, C, and let's do G, E, and C. And what it's going to do is it's going to output a whole bunch of characteristics of those chords. So first off, it's going to tell you the root. So what note is the basis of this chord? It's going to tell you the quality of the chord, which is what type of chords. So there are major chords, as like major keys. There are minor chords. There are dominant chords. It's going to tell you
happy, sad, bold, etc.
And it's going to tell you the inversion of the chords, what keys the chords belongs to, and what keys the entire set of chords belongs to, as well as the cadences, which are sort of like progressions between chords. It's going to tell you all of this information and it's all based on modular arithmetic performed in Python.
Right.
That's incredible. So it seems like both of you are very knowledgeable about music.
So
what was the sort of
Dungeon
motivation
Crawler, right?
behind this project? Are both of you musicians?
And
Well, I
in
mean,
like
I've
one
studied a bit of
sentence, you would
music
describe
theory.
it
Ian, I
as
think you
like
have
what?
more of a musical background.
I have loved music theory since I was really young, but actually this was inspired based on one of our mutual friends.
Yeah, Michael,
who-
right?
Yes, exactly. Michael was like bashing his head against the wall, trying to figure out chords, and we were like, hey, what if we made an app or some sort of website that would allow us to do this simply and save people a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of stress. And so
I think
that's
we
what
can
we
all
did.
relate to late night pea setting, right?
No, I know, and it seems like you guys have accomplished that. So in terms of kind of the code, what is sort of the hardest part of this project, and how do you guys think you overcame that?
What was the hardest part? I would say the hardest part was definitely figuring out the sequence of steps we needed to perform to identify a chord. Like, what makes a chord a chord in the sense that you can definitely permute the notes sometimes, but what does that change? I mean, what happens if you have repeated notes in chords? How are we gonna uniquely identify all those chords? I'd say that was one of the hardest parts.
Because I feel like with music theory, it's because not all subsets of notes are going to be chords, and so trying to figure out all that logic behind it, trying to figure out, hey, what cases don't work, what cases do work, and sorting through all of those different scenarios, that was probably the hardest part.
I think the smartest part of this code is the way we realized that basically all of musical notation can be reduced to modular arithmetic. So when we do that, we can look at the distances between notes, we can look at the ordering of those distances, and we can say, okay, based on this information, we know whether or not this is a chord.
So that's so interesting. You guys connected kind of this mathematical side with this music. Wow, that's incredible. So just as a whole, like, how has your experience been with CS50, and do you think you've progressed from where you started at the beginning of this semester?
You want to take that first, or I take it
Sure.
first?
CS50, I think that I came in with zero background in computer science at all, and I think
now you guys have this,
and
like,
now we
wonderful
have
now we have
thing.
this.
Yeah.
And I think that I've learned so much from this class. There were weeks where it were rougher than others, but I think with any class,
Resize.
Resize was rough. But I'm really glad that I took this course, and I'm really excited to be able to apply the computer science skills that I've learned from here to future projects.
I came in with a bit of a background of computer science. I've done it for a couple of years, maybe 3-4 years actually. And just being in this class made me want to study CS more, because the problems we did were so relatable. Like, oh, what if you've lost your pictures on your memory card? Or what if you need to make a survey for people to fill out? Being able to do all these cool things, from allocating memory to actually building a website, just gave me a good breadth of tools, and I feel like I'm excited to explore more in the future.
Well, thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
This was Ian and Shafi, and this was their project MyChord, and this is CS50.
So that was my chord. That was a really awesome project. I'm actually a musician, or I used to be more of a musician and a music producer, and so I think like sort of exploring those chord similarities in compositions, I think it's really cool, and applying math to it and making a web app. Are you a musician? Do you do music at all?
I took many years of piano and guitar, but I wouldn't call myself a musician. But tell us a bit, the music here is really cool. I think we've got like this great vibe going. Everyone's sort of almost dancing right now. But that's all you, right?
To a degree. So we actually have an MP3 that I sort of generated with some non-copyrighted music. But it's been.
Do you use any modular arithmetic for that?
No.
Any cool algorithm to come up with the right playlist?
No modular arithmetic. No, it's just basically a bunch of cross-faded MP3 files. So it was a good time. But yeah, it's. I think typically we like to have a lot of EDM in the events that we do, hackathon and the fair, because it provides a really
feel
good.
that. Wow, that bass is really getting me pumped up.
It's good energy. It's. I don't know. I think really, especially for people that are being here for several hours, I think it's great to have a lot of audio energy as well. Everything's very visually amazing, visually stunning, but having this sort of audio acoustic aspect of it is really good as well.
And the acoustics of the building are so great. I think you really can hear everything, which is exciting.
I think so. I think having all this more space has really contributed a lot to having a more open vibe, and just the acoustics, to your point, I think are a lot more, expanded, I guess. In the basement, I think the walls are a little bit more dense.
Yeah, it's a bit more echoey. We're very happy at the Smith Campus Center.
Yeah, no, this has been terrific.
Okay, have you ever played an instrument?
I played a bit of guitar. Yeah.
Really?
for quite a
Electric
few
or
years.
acoustic?
Both, but mostly electric guitar.
At the same time?
Yeah. No, not at the same time.
One hand in each?
Yeah, one handed each. Like there's some guitar players
You have a
that
dexterous
typically do that.
genius.
It looks like we have another
Exciting.
project. If you
Okay.
want to maybe kick us off
Yeah,
here.
sure. Okay, looks like we've got Athena. It's gonna introduce a really cool project using AI. Okay, oh, we're gonna use AI to play checkers. Oh, that's exciting. Okay, awesome. Okay.
Hi there, I'm Athena. I'm here with Phil. We're going to be talking about his project Checkers. So, first question here, what exactly is your project? How did you go about implementing it?
Yeah, so I wrote pretty much a checkers engine in C++, which allows the human to play against the AI computer algorithm. So on the screen here, the human inputs his move, and then the computer runs what's called a Minimax algorithm, and it goes through about 6 moves in advance, and it chooses the best move that it finds, and it makes that move, and then the game just goes on.
Okay, that's great. So I see your project is actually written in C++. What made you choose C++ as a language?
So I knew I wanted to use something where I could work with like bitwise types of things. So I needed to be able to use the bitwise operations, which that's pretty much what C is designed for. And I needed things like vectors and stuff. Vectors are pretty much like lists in Pythons where you can append and like push back things. C doesn't have vectors like in its library, so I needed to use C++
Right.
to have those features.
Right. So what would you say is maybe the hardest part of implementing a project like this?
For this project, it was definitely choosing like how to generate the moves that a piece has. And so at first I was trying to do it like mathematically, and then I decided I pretty much had to do like a lookup table, which would pretty much store the squares nearby every other square. So it ends up being like an array that has like 32 like rows and 8 columns in each row. And it's probably not the optimal solution, but it's pretty much like a dictionary holding all the squares. And so that was definitely the hardest part of the project for sure.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Would you say there was any part of CS50 as a class that really informed how you designed your project or how you thought about it?
Definitely the bitmap piece set. So the way I represent boards, I use unsigned 32-bit integers, so like the fixed width integers. And then I basically, if a piece is on a square, I put a 1 in that digits place of the binary, and a 0 otherwise. And so in pset 3, pretty much we were doing the same type of things with the bitmaps. And so that's similar to how I represent the board in this project.
Cool. So it looks like you have a board up already. Do you want to maybe show us a couple moves?
Yeah, sure. So I think I can put in the move A3, and I'll move it to B4. And so the pause here is the Minimax algorithm running, and it checks about 500,000 different positions.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, yeah, and this board evaluation here is the computer's score that it assigned to its move. So 0 means the game is tied, +1 means you're winning, -1 or -2 on means that the computer thinks it's winning. So a 0 means it's tied, and it decided to jump my piece. That's why the difference between this and that is that one of my pieces are gone.
Okay.
But it's expecting my best response is definitely to capture by going like D2 to B4. And then it will just run again, and then, yeah.
What would happen if you chose the worst possible move?
If I chose the worst possible move, it would probably show up as a -1 here. So the weird thing is, if you make a horrible move, you'd expect the computer to capture right away.
Right.
It doesn't really do that. It kind of somehow understands that it can put off like making you pay for this move, like maybe 3-4 moves in advance.
Wow.
So, but like if you make a bad move, it'll let you know with the board evaluation, but just the way the algorithm's set up, you don't always see you don't always pay the price immediately, and it's kind of hard to make a terrible move. But yeah.
Okay. Wow. So why did you pick checkers as a game to implement as opposed to like chess or tic-tac-toe?
So chess would have been way too hard.
Yeah.
In hindsight, I should have did Connect 4.
Okay.
Connect 4 would have been a much easier way to test out these algorithms without the complexity of checkers. No, but yeah, I had to forego double jumps.
Right.
Because that would just be too much added complexity in the move generation stuff. But all the AI algorithms run the same regardless of which board game you play.
Have you ever beaten your computer?
I have not.
Has anyone?
Yeah, my friend did. It's actually not too hard to beat. I've gotten advantages on it, then I just quit because I could probably win. But it plays, you can see that it's playing decently, but if you have a game plan that's more than 2 moves in advance,
right,
you're going to be able to overtake it pretty easily.
Okay, very cool.
I mean, if I had another week, I could probably get 3 or 4 more moves deep, and then I think it would be pretty hard to beat.
Right.
But that's just optimization stuff, optimizing the code, optimizing the AI algorithm.
Okay,
Yeah.
very cool. Well, we should probably wrap things up. Do you have any last comments, last thoughts on your project?
Nope. I mean, I'm just excited that I got to work. I didn't necessarily think I'd be able to finish a week ago because...
Did you start a week ago?
No, I started 2 weeks ago, but
Okay.
it's 2,000 lines of
Right.
C code.
Wow. Yeah.
So, I mean, I had a big task.
Yeah.
finish
But it looks
that.
like you did a great job.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for
Awesome.
taking the time to talk to us.
Thank you.
My name's Athena, and this is CS50.
That was really cool. I'm a big fan of checkers, actually. Are you?
I've played it a couple times. It's
Okay,
pretty
we could
fun.
play. Do you
Yeah.
think you'd beat me?
I think you would beat me.
I think I'd beat
you'd
you
me.
too.
And if it was chess, I think you'd beat me even more. So we
thank
actually,
you.
we already have another project lined up
Really
in our interview
awesome.
station, actually, yeah. So Rodrigo, our another teaching staff of ours,
correspondent, awesome.
he's got a dungeon crawler, that game that he's going to actually have a group demonstrate in the
Crawler.
interview station. Yeah, dungeon crawler, going to crawl through some dungeons. So let's
Sounds
kick it over
fancy.
to Rodrigo.
Hi, I'm Rodrigo, a teaching fellow for CS50, and I'm here with Luke and Jackson. They're going to be talking about Dungeon Crawler, a 2D Python-based game. Do you guys want to go ahead and give us a demo and talk about it a little bit?
Yeah, definitely.
I'll
Guys,
start
you want to get
playing.
that started up? So yeah, Dungeon Crawler is just, like you said, a 2D pixel-based art style, pick 'em up, escape type game. Where the whole goal is to collect the keys that we randomly place around the map while dodging all the monsters and eventually to escape out of the dungeon. So if you look up on here now, Jackson's just running around grabbing all the keys, running away from that little demon guy there.
That's interesting. And it looks like it's just following him, right? Is that how you program the AI?
Yeah, so we have all the different sprites, monsters. As you see, more and more monsters spawn in as you get to the deeper and deeper levels of the dungeon. And we just have them set up where they'll just track the player's movement and follow them around from there.
How long did it take you to find like a good speed that was a good balance of not too easy, not too hard?
Honestly, we were just kind of tweaking that. We made it where each class of sprite had their own little velocity to it. So you're always just changing the numbers. And Jackson and I think that was the really most fun part about this project, just being able to play with it and mess around throughout the entire project.
It definitely looks really fun. What was your motivation behind doing this type of game?
So we really enjoyed actually just being able to design the process of the game and design the level progression before we even had to start with the code. We were sitting in a room, we were just talking about okay, we want to do a game because we want to have a physical representation of something that we can play and reflect on and actually add step by step. So basically we came up with this level idea of picking up keys at a dungeon and having a gate. And that was pretty much the most simple idea of what we were going to do. And then it was just a matter of having some features that we were able to implement over time and some stuff that we had to scrap. For example, we were thinking of coming up with a map that was a maze where you could collide with actual walls, and that's something we struggled with, where if you see right now, we basically just have a big grid of tiles,
and we collide with the sprites. So that's one thing I would say that we would add if we could.
And I mean,
you want to demo what happens if you lose the game?
Yeah. So basically, if you get hit once, you lose a life. If you get hit again, you lose another life. And basically, it just resets each level. So if you're on the second level and you get hit, it'll reset you on the second level.
Okay.
But if you get hit again, it basically just says a monster caught you, and it gives you the opportunity to restart the game.
So what was the most challenging thing about this, would you say?
I definitely say the most challenging part was learning from the ground up a new Python library and really incorporating that. So I think it was a very steep learning curve at first, where we were just sitting around a lot, just trying to like learn the modules and really get used to the Pygame library. Then as we got used to it, we were able to implement more and more features, and the game just got more and more fun as we went along.
It looks amazing. Anything else you would have wanted to add to it, or any closing thoughts?
I think last night we were kind of at this point where we were finally having a really good working game that we thought was fun, and it's kind of interesting because with the game we got to the point where we started thinking of like all these things that we would add. We'd be like, oh, if we had 2 more days, we'd add this and stuff like that. So I think that's something unique that I'm really happy that we did a game, just because we had like this physical representation of something that we could think of. Like we could think, oh, we might add like little spikes that you would collide into, or like add some walls and things like that. But I don't know. I'm happy with what we came up with, and I think
It's very impressive
fun,
after just taking CS50. You've already coded a game. Is this your first experience with CS?
So for me, it's pretty much the first experience. I took a little bit of CS in high school, and then, so I'm a sophomore. I didn't take any in freshman year, and I kind of felt like it was the first experience coming back into it. So I was definitely in like the less comfortable bunch coming into class.
Same with me. I didn't have any in high school. Had in like 1 physics class here in Harvard, but definitely a new experience. It's been a lot of fun.
That's fantastic. It always blows my mind what students come up with after just 1 semester. But yeah, so there you have it. Very, very cool project. Closing out, this is Rodrigo, and this is CS50.
All right. Well, that was awesome. A dungeon crawler. So we don't actually really cover game programming in CS50.
But you know a lot about that.
A little bit. So I taught a games course through the extension school, actually, and actually that piece that looks a little bit similar to one of the pieces that we teach, which is a Legend of Zelda style game. And so, I mean, Zelda could almost be considered one of the early sort of the progenitors. I got this word mixed up another time recently, but progenitors of sort of dungeon crawling. Are you familiar with, you played Zelda with us?
I played Zelda for the first time on Twitch about a week ago, actually like 5 days ago. Yeah, it was harder than I thought.
Yeah,
harder to get those dungeons.
Turns out that TV actually had some input lag on it, so I discovered this after the fact.
Oh, sure, we discovered it when Colton started playing, but it was just really hard.
If you want to see the awesome footage on Twitch, we actually have that sort of that gameplay from this week on Twitch. So it was a great time. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Zelda is I would say it's a pretty fun, fairly easy game to sort of implement.
What's your favorite video game?
Favorite video game?
Yeah.
Well, Zelda's up there. Have
Really?
you seen the newer Zelda, the Breath of the Wild?
No, I don't play much video games.
Oh, well, this one's really cool because it's actually open world, so you can actually explore. Unlike most other Zelda games, which were kind of linear and you kind of had to navigate through specific places. Yeah, this one was very open, and you could go explore the entire world at any one time, which I thought was super cool and super novel, and it did very well. Actually, I think it was responsible for pretty much all the Switch's sales. At least in the first, time period that it came out.
Wow,
so it was super cool.
Really going in that direction.
What have you played recently? Have you played anything recently?
So again, I really don't play video games. I like Sudoku.
Okay. Do you do
We've talked about those.
Do you do it with an app?
Yeah, I have an app that I use on my iPad and phone that I, play with, but nothing much in the sense of like Dungeons and Dragons or anything. Okay, and next up, we're gonna now cut away to another student. So we've got Andrew with a final project called Exhibitor, and it's a graphic editor to create VR exhibits.
Hey, I'm Andrew Zuckerman, and I'm a TF at CS50. I'm here with Josh, and he's going to tell us about his project called Exhibitor. Yeah, so why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, so essentially I went into this project with the idea that information should be available for people to view online freely. And so one of the ways that we share information traditionally is with museum exhibits. And so I wanted to create a way for people to easily create VR museum exhibits. So traditionally when you're creating VR, you need to have some coding experience or the interface is just horrible. But with this, you actually just need to know how to click and drag, and you'll be able to create a museum exhibit of your own. So for example, I already have a building here, but if I wanted to add this picture, all I have to do is click a few times, and there it is. It auto-saves. I can reload the page with the viewer, and then when we look around, if it reloads, but if it did reload, we would be able to see that it's actually a VR-compatible 3D environment. So if we had an Oculus or another headset here, we would actually be able to put on the goggles and actually interact with the environment, assuming the Wi-Fi were working. And so really, it's just a way to share information and create museum exhibits in a much easier way than you would traditionally have with VR.
Awesome. Yeah, it already looks so good from right here on the computer. I can imagine with a set on how much more realistic this would be. Josh, this is so beautiful and so amazing. What made you decide to work on this for your project?
Yeah, so I've been taking a lot of classes this semester about museum studies and how we interact with information. And I was really inspired by some of those classes and how we've been using digital media to analyze the past as well as the future. And so I wanted to create a way so that people can easily do the same. So with this, now it loaded, so you can see how we can easily create VR environments with this software so that you can share information pretty easily with other people.
Cool. And was there a reason you chose the images you have right here? I see there's a little space theme going on.
The reason was that NASA images are public domain.
Okay.
And I wanted to follow the rules. No, I think space is really cool.
Yeah.
So I think it's very fitting for a symbol of expanding knowledge. So,
yeah, no, that's great. And if you had to add something more to this project, if you're going to work on it further, what do you think would be next?
Well, first of all, I would fix some of the bugs. Like you can see, the tiles are a little bit different there, which is eh. But beyond the simple bug fixes, I would add 3D objects so that you can actually place 3D objects and actually interact with them within the environment. Actually have more of a fully immersive experience and feel like you're in a real environment.
Cool. And another question I had is this your first time coding, or do you have experience before?
I have lots of experience.
Lots of experience. Yeah. So what else have you done before CS50 here at Harvard?
So this is my first formal computer science class, but I've been programming for about 5 years, and so it's been interesting to really sharpen my skills in this class.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool. And if you had to recommend for other students here in CS50 who are interested in augmented reality or virtual reality, how do you suggest they get started in that area?
I think the same way I did, which is to look up a framework that's pretty easy, like A-Frame, which is the one I used here. I think it's a nice graphics framework that allows you, it's very forgiving. So you'll be able to learn a lot from that.
Nice. Yeah. All right. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing your project. This is CS50.
That was so cool. I actually really love museums and NASA, so I'd have to agree with Andrew that that was beautiful and amazing.
Yeah, I loved the picture that they had there. But we actually have another project in the field right now.
Ooh.
The Cs50's Nick. This is a music classification app using AI and machine learning. Super excited to check this one out.
Yay!
All right, my name is Nick, and I'm here with Yash and Raluca, and we're going to hear a little bit about their music classification machine learning project, CS50 Final Project. So Yash, what made you guys decide to do a music classification project for CS50?
So originally we were going to actually design, again, a generative adversarial network that would sort of take Bach music and create music that sounded like Bach.
Okay.
Yep.
That sounds really cool. Very difficult.
Very difficult. So we sort of moved away from that because again it's kind of comprised of a generator and a classifier.
Okay.
So we sort of just focused on the classifier bit. And
very cool.
Yeah. So we also wanted to differentiate between Bach and so different types of music, right? So we thought Bach and Taylor Swift would be very different. So which would
make sense to me, yeah.
Yeah, which would make it a bit easier for the computer to sort of actually understand the difference. So we
that's awesome.
chose two very different music.
Well, that sounds very easy to me. I can usually tell if it's Bach or Taylor Swift. So what were some of the greatest difficulties or challenges you faced, Raluca, in building this sort of cool project?
So I think the most difficult part was actually finding the data and uploading it into the network. We had to manually go to YouTube, convert it to MP3, and then to a WAV format that was able, we were able to upload in the program.
Wow. Okay. That's a lot of work for that?
Yeah, for this we use Librosa, which is a library that is very easy to use to process the actual WAV format.
Okay.
And it's giving a list of numbers based on the amplitude of the sound at the point in time.
Wow.
And that
Sounds very technical.
Yeah, and we put that into the network.
Oh, that's awesome. All right, yeah, if you guys wouldn't mind showing us a little bit on your presentation and maybe walk me through a little bit of how this works.
Yeah.
Awesome. So what's on our screen right now? We have audio data analysis Librosa.
This is how 5 seconds of music look with Librosa.
Okay.
You can see the amplitude of sound differing from like
that's very
every
pretty.
moment in time.
Don't usually think of sound like that. That's awesome. Okay.
So so we also sort of use parallelism when in the actual program. So since we were letting like about an hour, a little more than an hour of music for each composer.
Wow.
So sort of like 3 hours.
Quite a bit of time, yeah.
Yeah, it takes very long. So we use parallelism so we could like load Bach music, Taylor Swift, and we also used EDM music as another sort of.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So you actually had 3 different things to classify between.
Well, we actually only did 2 at a time. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So is it EDM or is it Taylor Swift?
Yeah.
Is it Taylor Swift or is it Bach or Bach or EDM? Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So then we use parallelism so we could like load all 3 sort of simultaneously using like multiprocessing and the chords and stuff.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And it looks like you might have been using something. What was your machine learning library underneath?
Keras and TensorFlow.
Ah, big fan of both of those. That's
Yeah.
awesome. All right, so do you guys have any comments for people in CS50 or I guess kind of general things about the course? You created an awesome project and thank you for sharing that with us. So I guess what would be kind of your comments to someone in the future taking CS50? Maybe something along the lines of like machine learning is accessible even if it's your first course?
Yeah, definitely. Actually, so this is both our first time doing machine learning.
Wow.
And so,
Congrats.
like a lot of the libraries and stuff out there make it pretty accessible and really, really fun and interesting to do. Yeah.
Awesome.
And also CS50 teaches you a lot of CS tools and makes
Glad to
you
hear it.
yeah. And definitely take the course because it will teach you how to teach yourself other things in the future if nothing else.
That's awesome. Well, thank you both, Yash and Raluca. And my name is Nick. This is CS50.
Well, that was a super cool app. So AI in the context of music, and actually we had a stream. Nick, appropriately so, was on a stream using Keras and TensorFlow for a binary classifier, which I thought was super awesome. But I believe we have another project.
Yeah, I know. Emma is going to take us to our next project, which is what vine are you? Take the quiz. It's something that's we're going to take a quiz and figure out what vine we are.
Hi, my name is Emma Humphrey. I'm a sophomore TF for CS50. This is Aaron and Paolo, and they're going to show us their project about what vine are you? Take the quiz. So can you guys tell us about what you did?
Yeah, so we decided that we wanted to bring back Vine a little bit, and we actually live in the same room.
Well,
42. Well, 42. So one day I was just thinking about what we should do for our final project, and I asked him, let's do a personality quiz like the ones on BuzzFeed kind of, but with vines.
And
we
we're both
just put that into motion.
extremely bonded by our love of vines and internet. So we decided to do this.
Yeah.
I think it turned out pretty well. And if you'd want to, we can have you take the very last part of the quiz right now.
Yep.
Sweet. Oh, so if you do some pickup lines, can you walk me through your research project for figuring out how questions tie to the kinds of answers that you get?
All right, well, this is a very scientific process in determining which pickup lines to use, involving, I'd say, hours of research, looking up just pickup lines that people have used on Tinder and videos of people using it, and really determining the 4 cream of the crop pickup lines to use in our project.
Cool. So let's do, hey, my name's Microsoft. Can I crash at your place tonight?
All right.
And then, finna catch these hands for sure.
All right, very nice, very nice.
All right.
We'll be nice. It's all good. Jam to it anyway.
Okay.
All right.
And then let's see what we are.
Let's see what vine we've chosen.
So you got road work ahead. So do you want to watch the Vine?
Yes, of course.
All right.
Great.
Beautiful, beautiful.
So what was the hardest part of implementing your project?
I
I'd-
think.
Oh,
I
you
don't
go.
know. I think the hardest part was figuring out like how we want to split, like how to get to which vine from which answers. So we have a few questions in the quiz. There's 10 questions total that are filler questions,
Gotcha.
just for fun. And there's some. So the way we decided to do it was split. We have 8 vines total that you can be selected from. 4 that are more extroverted type, 4 that are more introverted type, and judging on some of the questions, we place you into like the extrovert or introvert, and then we just go from there.
So it really is telling you things about yourself, which vine you are.
Yeah.
It's a very intensive process. See?
Yeah. Like I learned things about myself taking the quiz that I didn't even know.
Well, it's nice to know that you can, at this point, code something to teach you so much about yourself.
I know.
Thank you guys so much. This is CS50.
That was so cool. I can't wait to take that quiz. So Colton, tell me, are you an introvert or an extrovert?
I am probably more of an introvert, but I try to exude that I'm an extrovert.
Okay, so you're like a fake extrovert.
A fake extrovert. I think you feel like an authentic extrovert to me. Is that accurate?
I think I've taken a lot of personality quizzes in my life. Sort of get mixed responses always, but I think I'm an introvert at heart, actually.
You think so?
Yeah.
You enjoy spending time kind of more just hanging out?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
I like spending time alone.
I feel like I've seen a lot of these kinds of quizzes on Facebook.
These are so cool, yeah.
And then Twitter, Vines, I haven't seen Vines in a long time, but it's very fascinating. I don't think I've ever seen any kind of classification. And it's sort of almost tying back to like the classifier that we just looked at a little bit, maybe more of a simple model, but classifying people based on personalities, classifying songs based on category and based on certain musical.
I love classification, actually, so this is super fun for me.
Yeah.
I think how do you quantify something that's like deeply qualitative? Like personality. I think it's so fun. I really want to crunch the numbers of who you are.
Yeah, no, it's really cool, and clearly it's not something that can be all encompassing. I feel like it's such a difficult thing, like all the personality tests, like the INFJ and all those sorts of things.
Right. Yeah.
I feel like those can be kind of tricky, but I think you can get some cool, interesting insights into things you might not have considered about your own personality by looking at these kinds of things.
Huh, okay, when you get your results, do you read the other personalities too?
I occasionally do. Do you as well?
Really? No, I think if you read all of them, I start to think it's more like an astrology type thing, because all of them kind of seem like they're generally applicable to everyone. So I like to just sort of stick to my results, and I'm like, yes, okay, I get it.
That's true. I feel like I've learned a little bit more about what the gamut of personalities is.
Gamut, that's a cool word.
By doing that, by reading a little bit, I'm not as much of a fan of the astrology. But it looks like we do have another interview going out with Amelia, another interview going out. We don't have any information on this project, but I'm very excited to see what it is over in the interview station.
Okay.
Hi everyone, well I'm Amelia here again, and now I'm here with Jacqueline and Justin, who are going to tell us a little bit about their project, Oxel. So can you guys run us through maybe a demo of this project?
Yeah, absolutely. So the way we kind of set it up and the idea behind it was allowing people to find volunteering opportunities near them and apply to sign up to volunteer at any time. Mm-hmm. So initially you can kind of enter your zip code or city that you're in. So my home zip code, we're both from Denver, Colorado, is 80235. So if I search for that, it'll show me a bunch of kind of volunteering locations and give a brief description as well as their website near them for what they can sign up to do. They can also come over to the Explore tab, and using the Google Maps API, we were able to kind of pull their geolocation. So here's where we're currently located, and we have pins placed on the map, essentially telling them what it is. So here's like the Harvard Square Homeless Shelter, and they can click on those to take them to those websites and sign up. We also have a community tab where people can go and see kind of comments that other people have left in the Oxel community about their experiences either with Oxel or with the volunteering organization that they had, as well as organizations can come register, sign up their organization so that they'll be populated on the searches on the Oxel platform as well as on the map. And then the last functionality that we built in was an apply to volunteer function. So when students come or people come to our website, they can click on, say, any one of the organizations, fill out their information, and then they can sign up to volunteer right away. So that's Oxel in a nutshell there.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. I'm not going to ask about the motivation because I feel like it's very clear that, we need to connect more people with their volunteering opportunities. So I think that's amazing that you guys saw like a real problem in our community and try to create a project to fix it. I guess I want to know more about kind of the technologies you guys used in this project. What were some of the biggest struggles and hurdles that you had to get through?
Yeah, definitely. I would say the biggest struggle was Justin really spearheaded the project with the Explore map, and the Google API is not something like you can easily figure out. He really put in a lot of time to figuring that out. Yeah.
So definitely, I think getting the markers to populate onto the map, kind of going through our database, finding their latitudes and longitudes, and putting information for each of the markers with the website data and as well as the titles was a bit tricky in terms of getting the types and getting the colors and getting the pins to go where we wanted them. So that was definitely the hardest part for me.
Yeah. We used a lot of like SQL technology to kind of store the data from like applications, organizations, and users for like when users make accounts, change their passwords, things like that. Yeah.
No, it's incredible. So I guess kind of looking more broadly at your time here at CS50 as a whole, are you happy with how you've progressed and like the fact that you've gone from, I don't know where you guys were at the beginning of this semester, but it seems like now you guys can create a really great functioning web app.
Yeah, I loved it. I had zero coding experience before coming into CS50. I literally knew nothing about coding or like how to even start. So I'm really happy. I loved the course so much. I loved kind of learning from whether it was like the beginning with the first P sets all the way till now. I feel like I've grown a lot in terms of both like learning how to code, but also kind of like building a project, building a problem, solving like how much time I'm gonna need to allocate to figuring out how to do something and implement new things. So.
My favorite thing was how in CS50, like every week you kind of learned something, like a new piece of coding. So like if you learned about SQL one week, you learned about Python, C, like a bunch of different things. So it wasn't like you spent the whole time learning like Java or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Well, thank you guys so much. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Jacqueline. This was Amelia, and this is CS50.
Awesome, thanks Amelia. That was amazing, a volunteer-oriented website, built
Yeah,
sort of
bridging people that want to volunteer with organizations that are anxiously hoping that people will, I don't know, help them.
Yeah, no, definitely. And this is actually something we saw at Yale too.
Really? Oh, that's cool.
Fair, yeah.
What a great trend.
It looks like we have another
okay,
project.
yeah. Athena is now going to talk to us about a really cool project called Template Responses that basically lets you use templates for emails.
Hi there, I'm Athena. I'm here with Nancy. We're going to be talking about her Chrome extension, which lets you do really cool things with email templates. So Nancy, you want to give us a quick demo of your project and then I'll ask you some questions?
Yeah, sure, I'd love to. So if you go into Gmail, they have some storing responses capabilities. If you go into the canned responses, basically allow you to insert, edit, and save those responses, but they do it in a pretty unintuitive way where they just have these titles repeated over and over and over again for you to use them. So I made a Chrome extension that allows you to create new ones. So let's go into new. We can call it something. I'll give it my name. We'll just say hi there. And it does allow you to preserve different formatting. So if I wanted to bold this here, it should preserve it when you paste the response. So I can save this. It'll give you a preview of what it should look like. And then if you go back into Gmail, start a line here, it'll list it in the response. And you can copy, edit, or delete it. Right now I'm going to copy it and paste it in, and there it goes, hi there, with the bolding preserved.
Wow, that is so cool. So if I'm someone who is interested in using this capability, how can I get access to your project? Is it on the extension store? I don't even know if that's a thing.
Right, so right now because I'm using it in developer mode, I can only use it because I have these files stored on my computer. What I can do if I wanted other people to use it is upload it to the store. I think you can also apply monetary values to it, so if I want to sell it, I might be able to. There's a short approval project or process for Chrome extensions, but I think they take most of them based on what I've seen online. So
oh, that's very cool.
On the store, and then anybody could download it.
Wow, that's great. So what would you say was maybe the hardest part about building a project like this?
Yeah, so we didn't learn how to do Chrome extensions in class. This is something I completely had to look up on my own, and they do have some information on it, but Chrome extensions aren't super popular where if you want to look at documentation for it, a lot of people will be making them. So you have to go to a lot of sketchy sites, decipher what things means, and it's really a learning process on your own where you can't rely on the help of others and the people who have done it before you to get everything done.
Okay, so like documentation was a little
Documentation
bit
was hard.
Oh my goodness, yeah, that, and this is, you know, we talk about things in CS50 like commenting your code and like documenting what you're doing, and now you see in the real world, like it becomes very real. It's not there! So, you know, speaking of CS50, like, was this your first experience with computer science? How does it feel now at the end of the class to have a working Chrome extension?
It feels really good. One summer, I kind of had like a little bit of experience with CS. I hired onto a lab, and they didn't tell me I'd be doing coding, but I was doing like VBA macros, like Excel recording the code for you, so you don't have to like figure out too much on your own.
Yeah.
This was my first like official coding experience, and it feels really good to have this done. I remember like last night at midnight, I felt like pretty crappy about it because it definitely wasn't as much as I wanted to do, but like showing it off now is such like gratifying feeling when I'm finally like done. My project does something, right? It does something at least, even if it's not all that I wanted it to do. So it feels really, really great.
Wow, that is so great to hear. How about like an aha moment? You know, you're working on your code, maybe late at night, something's just not clicking, and then all of a sudden it's working. Like, do you have any moments like that?
Definitely with like storing these. So like the way that Chrome extensions have their storage is they store everything locally for these facts, and you can either make like arrays or objects, and you have to choose like what you want to do. So like it took me a really long time to figure out that I wanted like one huge array with the object of title, HTML, and then the quill code. But like figuring out how to organize that really took such a long time. It literally was like snap, where I'm like, maybe I should do it this way.
And then it worked.
It worked.
And it worked. So there was that really cute little graphic that you had.
Yeah.
What is that?
I honestly just got a GIF from online. If I delete this, it should go back to the main page.
It's so cute.
No idea what it is. Got it from Jiffy. I think it's really adorable. I just wanted my project to look okay. Even if it's like not doing much, at least it's fun to look at. So.
Wow. Could you imagine yourself like using this in the real world now that you have it running?
Definitely I would. So the reason I really want to do this project is because I work at a developmental lab, and we use a lot of the canned responses to like share different studies going on with people. And like because I struggled so much with Gmail canned responses, I made this project and sort of wanted to publish it for the lab to use. So I might bring it up to my lab manager, see if he wants to make use of it in the lab.
Wow, that is so cool. That is super cool. I don't know. The project that I did as a CS50 student was kind of just like fun, but I think it's so interesting that you have projects that can actually be applicable to things like labs and other people. Like, you know, that's the whole idea where you start to learn that the code that you're writing like actually can have a huge impact. So this is super cool. Before we wrap up, do you have any like last thoughts about the project, the experience?
Yeah, I didn't think I was going to take CS50 my entire career. I remember telling my roommate even like last semester, there's no way in heck I'm ever going to do CS50, even if everybody else does it. I cannot. So like being on the other end of it is really crazy. I can't believe like I changed that much, even within the summer or like within shopping period. Don't get rid of shopping period. We're like
subtle plug.
Yeah, so really, really great experience. Even if you think you can't do it, definitely try.
Wow, okay, that's great, super encouraging. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today.
Thank you for interviewing me.
Oh, of course. Okay, and I'm Athena, and this was CS50.
So that was really cool. Colton, how many emails do you send a day?
Oh, on a good day, like just a couple.
Give me a range.
On a bad,
what's a couple?
Between 5 and maybe like 20 or 30, I think. Depends on the day, depends on what we're doing.
Wow, okay, I think I send like 3 to 40 a day.
I think if I were Doug, I think Doug and Brian
Fair.
probably
Oh yeah,
send
they must send a ton.
on the order of like 100.
I think that project would be quite useful for them.
Yeah, no,
Lots of
absolutely. No,
templating.
being able to store in Chrome, like just have a button there, super useful, super useful.
So
right?
useful.
We have another interview coming up with Andy. So the application is Mood by Me. It's an astrological matchmaking site. So let's check this one out.
Okay.
Hi, thank you all for joining us. My name is Andy Chen, and I'm here with
Fiona
and Anna.
And we're talking about Mood by Me, which is their CS50 final project. So, can you give me a quick spiel about what your project is, what it does?
Yeah. So our project is a lighthearted and fun, like horoscope-based.
Oh, I like that.
Mood board that also gives you the power to like find potential matches, and like has a little bit of a matchmaking service based on your astrological sign.
Got a little love in the air, yeah?
Love, always, Andy.
Always.
Do you want to register? Should we register you, Andy?
Absolutely, let's do that.
All right, so your name is Andy.
How did you know?
Your username is going to be Andy Chen.
Wow.
Your password? We won't tell anyone. We won't tell anyone. And what's your astrological sign?
Let's say Capricorn.
Capricorn. Lit. Okay.
I do like the Capricorns.
So now we're gonna create an account for you, Andy.
Okay.
And then it's gonna give you this astrological mood board.
Okay.
Totally a
Wow.
Capricorn.
Totally
Hello,
Capricorn.
Andy. This is your matchmaking mood
I
board.
just want to say, this reminds me so much of 2006 and my original MySpace website. I love it. It's a throwback.
That's the vibe we like to
nice.
create.
Bring you back to the mid-2000s.
This is where I live permanently.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so it gives you a Vine to watch. It gives you a curated playlist made by Annie Kim, one of our good friends. It cycles through photos of Fiona and I at the CS50 hackathon.
I think we're losing our minds.
Of course.
And
Who
so,
wouldn't want that?
as a Capricorn, you're compatible with Virgos, and so this gives you a list of all of the other Virgos that have registered, and you can find them and fall in love.
Nice. I like it.
And then it gives you this incredibly fun horoscope.
They're not going to launch that well as well.
It says, for better or for worse, Mamma Mia 2, Here We Go Again, will be the only in-flight movie on your next 3 flights.
Wow. I like it. I usually pay for that service, so I'm happy that that's the horoscope.
Oh, dude.
Can we watch the Vine real quick?
We can.
No man left behind kind of attitude.
And obviously, this is like.
It's a classic Vine. It's a classic Vine.
I like it.
All 12 are incredible Vines, I will
Yes,
say.
and we chose the vines and the playlist based on qualities of different signs. So this is tailored to a horoscope for Capricorn.
I like it. So what's the next big step for, because I see this as a enterprising, very potentially successful startup, and the next unicorn. What do you think is the next step for your website?
Yeah.
So I think it'd be good to make it. We didn't have time to do this, but I think the next thing we'd want to do is make it so that it updates all of these things after some set amount of time, so that each week or each month you'd be getting a new Vine, a new playlist, a new horoscope. The photos of our faces, I think,
think
should
that's
always stay.
Of course. I think that's the main appeal.
That's the main appeal.
That's what we'll come to.
Of course, yeah.
To see these photos.
But
Good photos.
Thank you so much.
So can I ask you, what was the inspiration behind your deciding to make this project?
I like reading dumb horoscopes on the internet.
Okay.
And I think that for our level of computer science ability, we did nothing before doing CS50. So we wanted to do something that was fun and not too heady and complex. So this was a good challenge, but not too wild or crazy.
I think it looks really good.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Andy.
So do either of you two have any computer science background?
Not even a little bit. Not even a little bit.
Phone, you know what I mean?
So 12 weeks ago, when you walked into the first lecture of CS50, having no idea what a computer, the low-level implementation details were, do you feel proud that you were able to make this whole website?
Yeah.
Feels pretty good, yeah?
I'm pretty proud.
I do. I feel like I have some baseline coding skills for sure, but I think it also makes you think in a very different way that I'm not used to thinking in a lot of my other classes.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I'm pretty proud of this. I feel like the first week they were explaining binary and I had no idea what was happening, and I struggled to make my Scratch game, and now look at us go. Look at us go.
I got a little clap, little pat on the back. Very nice.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Andy.
So before we go, can I ask you, what were your impressions of CS50 before taking the class, and then now that you've gone most of the way through it, we're at 99.99%, do you have anything to say about how you feel after CS50?
Yeah, I think that I heard about CS50 as this horrible, super hard, you work, you power your way through a class, that you come out on the other side with a t-shirt and a badge of honor. And I was a little bit intimidated by that, so I actually decided to take it pass-fail, as did Anna, so we could just get experience without the stress of having a letter grade hanging over us.
Absolutely.
And I think that allowed us to take more risks and try, but not stress out an incredible amount about CS50. And I now feel pretty confident in the small amount of computer science I have learned.
Yeah,
and I feel like it's done a good job of exposing me to a lot of different things.
Sure. Do you think that you'll either take more computer science classes or do computer science things as a result of CS50?
Yeah, I think definitely, I don't know if I'll take more CS classes, but I also just don't have that much more time left to take them.
Sure.
But I think it definitely gives you some baseline skills that could be very marketable and useful going into other things. Like I work in like a biology lab, and I feel like having these kinds of like skills could be very useful in like analyzing data and doing things on that side of lab. So I think definitely gives you things that carry into other aspects of your life.
Yeah. Do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, so I concentrate in history and literature, and all of my classes, like all of my studies are very humanities focused, which I like, but I think that I thought that I would never like have to or want to like include any STEM stuff into my academics.
Very nice.
But I do think this is like, I don't know if I'm gonna take like another CS class. I might have checked that off my list, but I think that I'm less afraid of that and like more willing to combine my two, or like combine my studies with something different, or like, more STEM, less pure books all the time.
Absolutely. Okay, so I guess to end on a note, to people who are considering taking CS50, do you have any tips for them?
I would say take it your junior year. You know what I mean? When a lot of your friends are TFs and course assistants and can help you through it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say like take it. I don't know, just do it.
Just do it.
Even if you're like, I don't know.
It's a good time.
Not as bad as everyone makes it seem, and it's a fun time, and you bond. Yeah. I've made some of my best friends at CS50 office hours.
Like Andy.
Oh, do you have a favorite member of the teaching staff?
Yes, Andy Chen.
Andy Chen.
That's me. Oh my.
What a world.
Well, thank you so much for being on here. And as we like to end, this is CS50.
Wow, I could really use a project like that, a matchmaking site right now. Okay, so thanks so much for joining us.
What is your sign? What is your sign, by the way?
Astrological sign. Yeah.
I'm a Gemini.
Oh, okay.
I'm Sagittarius.
Are we all compatible?
I don't know. What are you?
I'm a Pisces.
I
don't any of this.
I don't think
I don't know any of it. So you just came from the ground. What's it like out there? Tell us about
It's
it.
actually packed. It might seem nice and tranquil up here, but we have hundreds of students and attendees. A lot of high school students have come here on field trips for the day to see all of our undergraduates and our extension students' final projects.
It sounds really loud.
It is really loud. And
The
it's so
ground is
packed
like
that
trembling.
You have to kind of wait until there's an opening to actually make your way through the crowd.
That's so exciting.
But we've seen some amazing projects, and we've been talking to some of the students up here, but down there, most everyone is engaged in conversation with classmates, attendees. It's really great.
How's the popcorn?
The popcorn is delicious, actually.
Have you tasted
and
it?
I have. I've had one already. This is How's it been up here actually chatting with folks?
It's been fantastic. We've seen a lot of awesome projects, and the second shift is beginning now. Is that correct?
It is, yeah. We've broken down the CS50 Fair into 3 separate shifts because there's so many students.
Of course,
so the first shift just wrapped up. We have the second shift of like 200 plus students coming in again. And some of the first shift will stick around and chat with their friends and see their projects. And then we'll have a third shift just over an hour from now.
That's exciting. A lot to look forward to.
Yeah, absolutely. We have another project here in the field, actually, if you want to maybe kick us off here.
Indeed. I think coming up next is Nick in the field. We're going to take a look at augmented reality and as it intersects with the world of art.
Awesome. Hello, this is Nick, and I'm here with Minza and Huopu, and they've built a fantastically cool AR project that basically allows you to look at pictures and put all sorts of their own wildest imaginations on it using their iPhones. So, Minza, can you tell me a little bit about why you guys picked this as your CS50 final project?
So we really love ukiyo-e, and we find like there's different interpretation of the same artist, like by the contemporary artists. So we just want to associate them together, and that's one of the reasons we do that. So the other reason is we got inspiration from the name of ukiyo. So yuki in Japanese means floating. So we want to create a real floating world in augmented reality.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's the true idea. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. And you guys said you were both GSD students, so graduate students of design. Did your design skills come into play in making this work?
Sure. Some of the models. So one of the image we have.
You can hold up some of your images. That would be great.
So this image, is right here. We see a 3D model.
So it's also on your screen. Fantastic.
Yeah, this obviously has something to do with our 3D modeling skills at the GSD. So
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So what tools did you guys use to build each of the parts? You had to be able to interpret images, you had to be able to recognize them, build an app, and then you also had to model things. So let's talk about each of those 3 parts.
So we use Euphoria to do the image recognition, and then we assemble it together manually in Unity, and we also like code a little bit by C# in Unity to trigger the animation, and then we export everything in Xcode to do the app.
And everything's in Swift?
With Swift and
Always
also
fun.
Objective-C, which is...
Wow, so that's...
Yeah.
Kudos to you guys for doing that,
That's
pulling
a
that
lot,
off.
yeah,
That's
I
awesome.
know.
What were some of the biggest challenges you guys faced in building this project?
I think obviously it's, in the end we plugged our Unity component into our iOS app,
right.
And that's the biggest challenge.
It's pretty difficult.
Because we thought it was easy in the beginning, and then until the very end we realized how problematic it could be.
Welcome to CS.
Yeah, but we eventually succeeded. So
obviously.
Yeah,
And
very nice.
also like C# and Xcode is something not included in CS50.
We don't really teach that. It's not the IDE.
So we spent some time to get us on board.
That makes a lot of sense. Well, thank you very much for sharing your guys' project with us. We really appreciate it. I'm Nick Wong, and this is CS50.
Wow, that was also extremely cool. And you know what's really extra cool? This popcorn is so good. Can you catch it?
I caught it in my hair, actually. No, this was a lot of fun. Being able to see a piece of art and convert it into 3D, especially that app, I can see that being really great, in a pair of glasses.
So cool.
I mean, with the phone, you can only obviously see so much of it, and in fact, the footage might have been captured through a VR headset or an AR headset.
Super cool. Okay.
We have it looks like another interview all set with Rodrigo. This one's called Brion Zone Plotter. It plots characteristics of crystalline lattices.
Hi, so we're back. This is Rodrigo, and I'm here with Will. I'll let him introduce his project. Would you want to talk about it?
Yeah, I'm Will. I'm a special student studying physics, and my project is thinking about crystal lattices. So if we have a crystal lattice, imagine what it is in one dimension first. It's a set of points like this, arrayed with a particular distance between each point. Now you can imagine that in 2 dimensions, which is what we're going to be dealing with from now on. And that's like one of these changed like this in this direction, and one up like that in that direction, tessellated to infinity. And we're going to be effectively asking the question, what is the area of this 2D infinite lattice which is closest to one particular point over any other? So let's try that out. So you can see on the screen here, we're inputting the vectors that define the crystal lattice. So let's do an easy one to start off with.
Do you want to talk about how this, generates the lattice?
Yeah, sure. So from we start at 0, 0, and then there are 2 lattices you put in, the 2 vectors you put in. So for example, here we have the second X component and the second Y component. Okay. This defines a vector. And from that 0, 0 point, you map out along that vector, and then you do that repeatedly. And then this second vector defines another one. And so you can combine any number of combinations of like that jump, or that jump, and like up and down, negative as well. And that sets out a whole lattice of space.
Awesome, let's see it.
Okay, yeah, so then we put in, so we're doing here, so 1, 0 is just the y-axis, 0, 1 is just the x-axis. And so it gives out, this is just a square lattice. And as we put this in, it will calculate the area closest to it. So we can see here's the lattice of points, which as we said before are like just a regular lattice arrayed by those x and y vectors. And then this blue area is the Brillouin zone, which is the area closest to this one point than any other. And now we can do it for a slightly harder one, because you probably could have worked that out in your head. So here we're putting in 2 vectors. This one is slightly twisted from what we were considering before, so it's maybe not so easy to work out straight off. And as we can see, here's the lattice, and here's the area that's closest to that one point. Yeah, and this maybe seems a bit useless, but this is actually useful because we're going to be I do solid state physics research, so in a lattice there are waves propagating, for example, sound or electrons or something, and this area here is there's a constraint on the waves such that they have to exist within this blue area here. So being able to visualize it can allow you to understand a lot of the phenomena. Yeah.
That's amazing. What would you say was your biggest challenge when doing this project?
It's quite hard to work out how this area itself, working this out was pretty difficult, and especially when I wanted to extend it in various ways. So maybe it's useful if I talk about how it does it. I don't know.
Sure. Yeah.
This is, so it looks at all the points closest to it. So for example, for this point here, it looks at this set of points, and then it calculates a line between them and then finds the line perpendicular to that. So here we can see this line is perpendicular to the line connecting those two. And that defines a route round here of the closest area. And I wanted to extend it to ask questions like, either in 3D for one, or second to ask things like, where is, what's the set of area which is second closest to this point? So for example, this point here is closest to this point, but it's second closest to this point. And that is also a useful thing to be able to find out. But that required another layer of doing this, drawing the lines and finding out which points like ones we should consider and which ones are important. And that was really difficult. And I managed to work it out for the first zone, but no others. And so that was quite hard.
I mean, it's still really impressive. Would you say then that your biggest challenges were more with the physics than with the programming?
Yes, I think so. Though I had a lot of trouble with the programming ones that are easier. You just like look up online or ask someone and someone knows how to do it. Whereas this thing, I don't know, I kept on banging my head against it and no one had any ideas.
But this was your first experience with CS?
Yeah, I'd never done any computer science stuff before. But yeah, so this is the biggest project so far. So
it looks, I mean, it's, you know, I would have to take several classes of physics to be able to understand it completely.
Yeah.
But no, it looks really cool, and I'm very, very proud of what you've done. Any closing remarks?
No, I think that's me done. I think I've learned my fair share. So awesome. Thank you very much.
Well, this was Rodrigo and Will closing out, and this is CS50.
Yeah, it was a super cool app. You know, I'm not a physics concentrator, so I didn't quite understand absolutely everything that was going on there, but I heard of the term crystal lattice as it refers to sort of molecular structure of certain things. I think maybe even granite or graphite might have a crystalline structure.
Okay, yeah. I like gravity a lot, and actually I have a message for you.
Oh, what's that message? Nice, nice. Oh, nice. Okay, I see. Appreciate it.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. We have another thing in the field if you want to kick it off.
Okay. Athena is going to talk to us about APA, a self-improvement app. Oh, I love self-improvement. I'm the biggest fan of self-improvement.
Hi there, I'm Athena. I'm here with Dylan. He has a super cool project. It's like basically gamifying your life. I don't want to steal the thunder, so I'm going to turn it over to you. Like, walk us through it. It's super cool.
Okay, yeah. So the name of the project is called APA, and it's, as you said, it's a way to gamify and track your habits and your progression towards goals, both short-term and long-term, and like bucket list items and things that you want to work on.
Yeah.
It's kind of based around like a similar model to Sims or like role-playing games online, where you have a system of skills that you can allocate points to. And the points are what you earn when you complete the day-to-day to-dos or your goals or the bucket list items. Tasks, challenges, and quests are what they're called in here. Tasks are the kind of short-term things. Challenges are your bigger goals, and then quests are your long-term bucket list items. And so as you complete them, points kind of serve two functions. One, they are the measure of your progress in the different skills, but they're also the kind of backing of a reward budget that you build up. And there's a system of rewards that you build for yourself, and the website makes it easy to kind of self-regulate and apply kind of self-control to that system of rewards, both to incentivize and like change the way that you view rewards and cheat days from like the general way.
Right. So you actually had a super cool backstory for what inspired this project. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So it was like 2016 and Pokemon Go was pretty big, and I didn't have a phone at the time. And so I was kind of missing out, but seeing all of my friends who would get incentivized just through playing a game, like normally people who would just be inside all the time, get distracted because they're focused on the game and not realize they were walking for miles and kind of like getting pretty good exercise from it. So I took my habits at the time and I tried to gamify them through a system of really messy Excel sheets.
Yep.
And
do you want to show us the Excel sheets?
Sure, I can. Yeah, so initially it was all just tracked in Excel, and then it got moved to Google Sheets because I had some friends who
upgrading in this world, moving up. Yeah,
gave it some colors, gave it some fancy fonts. But the whole idea was to track my habits, give them a system of points that I could then use towards rewards that I built for myself.
Right.
Problem was I was pretty much the only person who could use it without breaking it. My friends wanted to use it, I try and copy it over to them, and then like something in the copying pasting just constantly broke things. It was never very easy, but it worked really well for me. So I knew coming into CS50 that this is something that I'd really want to do someday when I actually knew how to make a website.
Yeah. So how does it feel now at the end of this course? You know, it's a hard class for a lot of people, regardless of if you come in with a lot of CS experience or a little bit. how does it feel now at the end to have this like great working website and the Excel spreadsheet open literally next to it?
Yeah, it's a huge kind of like eye-opener of how much you can really get in one semester.
Right.
I came in kind of in the in-between category. There were some parts of CS that I knew a little bit about, and most of it that I knew nothing at all.
Right.
But I just kind of really focused on the things that I knew I'd want to be using later on, and just found like kind of my niche within the CS class, which was like Python and Django web building.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of my favorite things about this when I first saw it was how much like thought and I don't know, creative effort Dylan put into this. If you want to pull up, they were the challenges or the quests?
Oh, okay, yeah. So the task, challenges, and quests, again, like the things that you kind of do in the game. I have about 600 pre-entered ones that you can kind of choose from. Everything from like performing songs and poems to working on martial arts, and these are just like your different day-to-day things. You also have the challenges, which are like the bigger ones. They can be like beating your personal records in different sports, trying being vegetarian. I actually started being a vegetarian because of the habit sheet, and I'm still a vegetarian like 2.5 years later.
Very cool.
Yeah, so and then quests are like, yeah, those big bucket list items, places you can visit, or kind of life events.
Right.
But if you don't find one in the 600-ish options to choose from, you can always input your own, like make something custom and personal for you. And it just gives you something to really work for, but also like seeing all of the options, it gives you ideas for things that you've wanted to try, maybe like ceramics that you hadn't really considered before. It was always kind of in the back of your mind, but you can kind of add it to your list in a sense of giving you something to focus on and that you want to be working on right now. And once you've added it, you can go and mark that you've completed it, earn the points, and then use those points towards the rewards that you set for yourself.
Okay, so last big question, because I thought this was super cool. APOC, what is going on with this?
Yeah, so the name, I was really big into Greek mythology when I was younger, and it was I don't remember where I read about this theory that the Greek gods actually just started off as normal people, right? Like they were people who kind of...
confirm.
Athena. So they started off as normal people who were in one particular area just became really well known. And I kind of liked the idea that it was a normal person doing something epic that kind of became a legend.
Right.
And so with the system of skills, like the idea is that if you, one of these people would be like somebody with level 99 of one of these skills.
Right.
And so as you progress through the game and you unlock titles and the different accolades that you can get, there's like more and more references to Greek mythology.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's great. Wow. So good decision taking CS50.
Absolutely.
Proud of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's great. So before we wrap up, any last thoughts, comments, like things that were particularly exciting?
Well, one of the things that I liked about this was once I started working on it, I got to see, and also through the course in general, how much I could actually do.
Yeah.
So something that I couldn't integrate right now was a system of kind of alerting you based on the patterns and trends of your behavior. So like, let's say I tend to get ice cream every time I put a lot of academic work in, which I might be doing tomorrow. It can, if you're tracking all of your behaviors in this, which it is, it should be able to scan over it and look for patterns in that. So let's say I'm entering in a bunch of academic related tasks one week, I get a notification that says, hey, you tend to get ice cream after this, but you said you don't want to do that anymore.
Right.
Here's a reminder why.
Like, no more ice cream.
Yeah. You said you didn't want to do it.
Right.
So this is like just a way of kind of keeping us from getting really mindless about the things that we do, and our bad habits tend to not be things that we want to do, but things we do without thinking about it.
Wow.
And this kind of could potentially be a way around that.
Well, I think this is super cool. So, I mean, the spreadsheet was pretty cool too, but this is just on a whole new level. But thank you so much for talking to us. This is a great project. My name's Athena, and this is CS50.
Okay, that was super cool. I am the biggest fan of mindfulness, and actually, I thought about being a vegetarian quite a few times. Colton, do you have any thoughts on that? Okay, he's a little quieter right now, but that's okay. I've got to say, yeah, I think just plants aren't really my thing. I think I'd rather be a carnivore. But no, I'm just kidding. No, but it's really great. I love spreadsheets, love that Excel stuff. It's so important to be very mindful always. And now let's head over to the field where Nick is going to show us the next super duper super cool project. I think it's going to be really, really amazing. Okay, and let's go to it. Awesome.
Awesome. So this is Nick, and we're here with Leo, Jalen, and Neil, and they've built this really cool app that is called Run Anywhere, and allows us to kind of see all sorts of routes and things, but I don't know their app super well. They'll tell you all sorts of things about it. So Neil, why did you guys build a running app?
Yeah, so it's kind of funny actually. Leo and I talked about running a little bit during our pre-orientation program.
Okay, very
and the
cool.
first time that I met Jalen was when the three of us went on a run together
Wow,
during one of the
that's
first
adorable.
days of school. And so we all obviously like running just for
Okay.
fun, and we want to find places to run around Cambridge, so we decided to
Awesome.
build this app.
Okay, Leo, would you mind showing us a little bit about how your app actually works?
So you can click enter here, and Run Anywhere uses Strava's API to come up with nearby running segments to the user.
Okay.
Strava allows users to record their own running routes or record data about their run, and then also allows them to upload segments, and then it tracks how popular different segments are based on how often other users run on them. The app gets
Okay.
nearby segments and then allows users to go through them and, like, let's say, select individual segments and come up with novel permutations of them that they'd like to go on a run on. So,
that's awesome.
for example, let's say you would want to go for a run on the river. You can click on, like, let's see, Mount Auburn turnaround looks interesting. Cambridge Common also looks interesting. We can add both of these to our route builder.
Sweet.
And then we can initialize a custom route. And then what we can also do is we can save this route for
that's
later
awesome.
use if we log in first.
Okay.
And then be able to take a look at this later. It also allows us to go anywhere we want to. So, like, for example, where do you go to high school?
So I went to high school in San Diego.
In San
California.
Diego. So we can look up San Diego.
Sure. I'll keep this around.
And it'll show us some running
very
routes
cool.
near San Diego. So let's say, maybe you're going back home, you used to know what routes are really popular, now
Yeah.
you want to kind of see what people are running these days in San Diego, and kind of string together different running routes that are in any different area and create something that you would want to go for a run on.
That's awesome. Okay, so Jalen, can you tell me a little bit about some of the greatest difficulties or challenges you faced when you guys were building this app? I'd imagine there were a few.
Yeah, so we have a lot of moving parts in our web application. Yeah, that's that's true. But yeah, we have the map and also the data table, and getting those parts to kind of interact took a lot of hard work, and a small hiccup in one part of the program could create big difficulties in all over the program. So yeah.
Oh, okay. Very cool. So do you guys feel like CS50 prepared you pretty well for building something like this?
Yeah.
Just kind of unanimously, yeah. Wow. Oh, that's awesome. All right, well.
A lot of this was done in JavaScript, actually, which was a language that CS50 doesn't cover so much, but CS50 does give you a lot of the building blocks that we needed to kind of help, I guess, teach ourselves the ways in which we could incorporate stuff like Strava's API, like Mapbox, into a Flask web application, which is taught by CS50.
Wow, that was a lot of jargon right there. So I think you guys know a lot more than you think you do. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing this all with us. We really appreciate it. It's always cool to see cool projects. My name is Nick, and this is CS50.
Hello. Hey there, that was pretty cool. So, Colton, how often do you go on runs?
Well, I think I run all the time, actually.
You
I'm
look
a
different.
marathon trainer.
Are you feeling
I've
okay?
lost quite a lot of weight
You've
recently.
lost a lot of weight, okay, because you've been jogging so much.
Yeah. and
Really
I've changed
making
my
great
hairstyle
use
as
of
well.
that project. Okay. Huh, any particular running routes that
Yeah.
you particularly like?
Yeah, I like to run around this route called the Python route. It's kind of a C shape, but it's different. You just sort of
Why isn't it
snake
called
around.
the C running route then?
I'm not sure. Anyway, time for more exciting projects. Why don't you tell us about what's next?
Ooh, yeah. Okay, it seems like we actually maybe
Have a very exciting project. Why don't we go there now? All right, we'll pass it straight over. Let's go. Very excited.
Hi everyone, my name is Amy. I'm a teaching fellow here at Harvard, and today I'm here with Jackson, who has a super cool CS50 project. Do you want to introduce yourself and talk about what your project is?
Absolutely. Hi everyone, I'm Jackson. I'm a student at the Graduate School of Design here at Harvard. My program is called the Master of Design Studies, and I have a concentration in technology. So what we have here is a web app that allows users to input a keyword and then start a Twitter stream. We filter the stream of all possible tweets down to those from the continental United States, and then we check each tweet to see if it comes from a city with population over 50,000, according to the 2016 census. So if it does have population over 50,000, we classify that as urban. Otherwise, we classify it as a rural tweet. It's a bit of a rough threshold, but for this purposes, it should be okay. So once we have the urban and the rural data sets, we perform sentiment analysis on each method. Sentiment analysis on each tweet. Sentiment analysis is a form of natural language processing where each word in the message is analyzed for psychological valence. In other words, how happy or angry it might be. So each tweet gets a cumulative sentiment score, and then the sentiment scores are compiled and averaged for each data set, for urban and rural. So you can compare the average urban sentiment versus the average rural sentiment for a given keyword. Each tweet is plotted with latitude and longitude on a map. And we have some charts here, like a little pie chart and a line chart, which shows the 10 most recent tweets and their scores.
Cool.
Okay.
What was your inspiration behind this project? What made you want to create it in the first place?
So the idea for this project first occurred to me when I was applying to the Graduate School of Design last year. This is my first semester. My background is actually a little unorthodox. My background is in fine art, specifically oil painting. And for my application to the Graduate School of Design, I needed an idea that had something to do with the built environment or mapping or geography. The sentiment analysis component, I feel like I owe that to my fascination with subjectivity, which is a bit more of a fine arts perspective on things. So I like it when you can incorporate both in a single project. You know, some hard science, some hard data, some computer science, some programming, with a bit of subjectivity and emotion. I feel like that always makes for a really interesting project.
Cool. Have you been enjoying your time in CS50 so far? What would you say is like the best part or your favorite part of this course?
Wow. I think my favorite part of the course was learning C. I've done a lot of front-end development, a lot of JavaScript. I've never done anything like C. So once we started allocating memory and dealing with floating point numbers, I knew I was in over my head, and that's exactly what I wanted. You know, my front-end skill set is self-taught, so I wanted that classical education to fill in the gaps, and CS50 exceeded my expectations in every way. It's a really challenging class, even if you have some experience. So start your P-sets early, and yeah, have fun.
Cool. Thanks so much for joining us today, Jackson. And this is
CS50.
That was pretty cool.
I think we're live. Okay.
That was pretty cool. I don't know about you, but I think sometimes reading what people are saying is quite hard, right? Like, so, you know, someone sends me a text, for instance, and it's not always super clear whether it's more of like a negative or a positive. So I think something like this, sort of software that could analyze the sentiment of some written words would be quite useful.
There's definitely something to be said about the ambiguity of like written communication. Like, you don't know whether someone's being passive aggressive or whether they're being happy or whether they're sad.
Or just aggressive.
They're just aggressive. It's difficult to ascertain sometimes, I feel like, because texting can be limited. That's thankfully why we have things like emojis.
Yeah.
You know, which CS50 is decorated very extensively today.
Oh my God, we've got the
emoji
best balloons. They're so fun.
But it looks like we have a new project we're going to demonstrate right
Yay!
now in the field. So Athena has an app. It's a project called Contact, and it's going to allow sharing contact info via QR codes.
Contact info. It's exciting.
Hi there, I'm Athena. I'm here with Rohan and Zach. They have a really cool app that they built. Actually, you know, when I walked over here, Rohan goes, Zach has a really great pitch, so why don't you give us that really great pitch?
Absolutely. So Athena, we just met hypothetically.
Hypothetically?
We want to exchange contact information.
Wow, that was fast.
I know, right? I mean, it seems like we should. And so we've got one of two options today, right? I can either hand you over my phone, maybe you run off with it. You seem trustworthy enough, but like
I have been known to run off with a few phones.
yeah, so that feels a bit dangerous. Second option is I can try to dictate your information. Like, is that Athena with 2 E's?
4.
4. I would have got it wrong.
Right, exactly.
So we're trying to solve that issue. And what we did was we created an app using iOS. And so it's an app that when I click present, it shows a custom QR code. And then Rowan.
Yeah, so now all I gotta do is click scan, and I can scan his QR code and download his contact information. So yeah, now his contact information is saved in my phone.
Wow, so iOS apps actually tend to be on the like more difficult end of projects, and you guys went ahead and did this. Were you working in Swift, Objective-C? What are the sort of decisions you guys made when choosing one versus the other?
So we chose Swift just because we were somewhat familiar with Xcode. Like I messed around in Xcode a little bit.
Okay.
But it was definitely a challenge because the biggest thing that we noticed was for a Swift application to work, it has to work on every single iOS device.
Oh.
So constraining the UI and making sure that everything looks good on different devices was pretty tough.
Right, I'm one of these people who like never updates my iOS, so it's always really sad when things don't work.
Yeah.
But okay, so that's really cool. So what was, other than just like the challenge of working with Swift, what were some of the challenges you guys ran into in the project?
So we leveraged a lot of existing libraries that exist inside Apple and Swift. So the contacts allow us to save natively, the QR reading and generating. And so therefore there's just a lot of time to understand the object-oriented way that they present that information, and also understand some of the principles around optional and forced unwrapping that's specific to Swift that previously developing in C or Python we weren't necessarily formally exposed to.
Right, that makes sense, So was there anything in the class that actually ended up being really helpful or really inspiring when it came to working with this project? Maybe a P-set or a lecture?
Well, I would say the take-home final was actually the biggest thing.
Okay.
Because since there wasn't so much specific material related to Swift, but in CS50, a lot of the problem sets, you're encouraged to kind of Google and find things for yourself.
Right.
So I developed that skill a lot in CS50 and then applied here for sure.
And that's a big one for sure,
yeah.
if you guys ever do stuff in industry.
I also just think the hackathon, like we went to the hackathon, we got there at 7 p.m., we stayed to 5 a.m. And I think just having that.
Afterwards?
No, we went home. I think maybe Rowan had a piece set to do. I went to sleep. I'm
lame,
old.
but that's fine.
But I'm sure IHOP was amazing. But no, it was really great to have that 10 hours just working together, and there was many people on CS50 staff who were helpful as we were trying to troubleshoot some more peculiar Swift issues we were facing.
Yeah. Oh, so here's another question that I noticed pretty early on. You're from the law school. You're an undergrad. Like, how did this happen?
So we just sat down next to each other the first day of section and became friends through that, and then worked on the project together.
Yeah.
So yeah, CS50 brought us together.
CS50, making bonds, making connections. Did you make like any other good friends in CS50? People you'll maybe take other classes with, work with in the future?
I definitely connected with my TF.
Right.
Jason Huang was a great TF. So yeah, I like talking to him. He's actually my year, which was fun.
Oh, that's
so,
very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. All right, so friends?
Really just Rowan. Just go,
really
just double. Really,
I mean,
it's quality over quantity. I always said.
Well, I think the bigger problem was that you had no way of getting people's contact information.
Yeah, exactly. Now it's safe. It's like I wasn't gonna hand my phone over, and I definitely can't spell names. So.
That's great. So how about aha moments as you guys were working? Maybe like middle of the hackathon, you've been working on this bug for 5 hours, nothing is working, and it clicks and it works.
I would say the first time that we actually scanned a QR code and then saw that QR code in our context, that was just the best.
Yeah.
So that was very much an aha moment. Happened around 4 a.m. at the hackathon.
The best things happen at 4 a.m., honestly. How about you?
I think there was also a moment where we were trying to save information persistently to storage. Yeah. And literally, we worked on it. I worked on it from 3 to 5 a.m. And at some point, we're just like, you know what? Let's just set this down and pick it up the next day. And within 30 or 45 minutes, with a fresh mind the next day, it worked and it was awesome.
Wow. Well, that's super cool. So before we wrap up, any last thoughts on the class, your experience? You're standing now at the fair, at the culmination of this really big, actually very complex class. And, people come to this from having a lot of CS background, having no CS background. What is that feeling like standing here now?
I mean, take this class. Definitely take this class. I'd say, you learn so much and in such a short amount of time. It's kind of incredible.
Right.
So I just reflecting on how much I feel like I've learned, and
like how much help I got along the way. Like I'm very grateful I made this decision to take the class.
Amazing.
And I think likewise, obviously coming from a bit of a different background, I would really encourage grad students to take the class as well. I think you can learn a lot, and I also think it's a really interesting opportunity to be part of something that's really iconic to like the Harvard College experience, which is CS50.
Oh, that's great. Well, thank you both so much for taking the time to talk to us. Super cool app. I hope like it ends up on the App Store sometime soon. My name is Athena, and this was CS50.
Awesome. So I thought that app was really cool because rather than have to manually enter someone's name or contact information, you can just scan a code, which takes a second, and the deed is done, right?
The deed, yep. I think always great to get other people's contact info. And also funny, CS50 brought us together, which is nice.
It did.
Okay, but actually, now let's go to Andrew with our next project, which is called Backlink. I'm sure it's gonna be super duper cool. Can't wait to see it.
Hey, I'm Andrew Zuckerman, and I'm a TF for CS50. I'm here with Grace, who has an amazing project. It's called Backlink, and I want to talk about it right now. So yeah, why don't you tell us about Backlink and just walk us through the mechanics of it, and then we could talk more about why you started this.
Yeah, so as you may have heard, fake news, or more formerly known as information disorder, is a huge problem in the US and globally today. So I wanted to create a fact-checking website that made the fact-checking process faster, easier, and just overall a better experience. So with Backlink, basically all you have to enter is one of 3 pieces of information: a URL of any article you find online, any text post you find on Facebook, or any meme or image you find on Facebook, and we'll return to you a fact check from PolitiFact if one exists. So for example, I'll demo this with this meme here on Facebook, and you might see this and think, hopefully you don't follow these pages on Facebook, but if you did, or you know someone who does, and they see this, and they're questioning if that information that's inside of this meme is accurate, all they have to do is copy the URL and then paste it into the appropriate box in Backlink, and then press submit, and wait a few seconds. And as you can see here, we're returned that according to PolitiFact, what we were reading was mostly false, and then we also have the link that we can visit on PolitiFact's website to find out more information about this topic and learn why it's mostly false.
Yeah, that is amazing. So I heard from someone that this is your first computer science class at Harvard.
Yes.
Did you think this was a challenging project, or you enjoyed it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was definitely a challenge, and if you had told me that when I started this course I would be able to make it, I definitely would have believed you, because I definitely was, I was among those less comfortable in the beginning, so it took a while to learn, but I just had so much fun doing the research for this, and there's so much you can find online when trying to learn new skills in CS that it was actually a fun project to make.
Cool. And it seems a little complicated because some of those links you could have text, and other links you have an image on Facebook. So how do you deal with those differently?
Yeah. So basically, depending on what you enter, so a URL of an article, a Facebook text post, or a Facebook meme, there's like 3 different functions that my program would call. So like for the meme, when there's text on an image, it uses this library called PyTesseract that like extracts the text from the image, and then I clean it up a little bit and send it to PolitiFact. But if you enter a URL from an article, I use the newspaper 3K library to pull the title of that article, which I use as its claim, and then I send that to PolitiFact. So there's 3 different processes going on here.
Okay, awesome. And I think some titles could probably be super long, some could be really short. Do you send the whole title into your program, or you only look at part of it?
Yeah, so for if you enter the URL of an article, it sends the entire title to PolitiFact. But if you enter a Facebook post or the URL to a Facebook post or a meme, I have to clean that up a little bit. For example, I wrote a regex equation to remove emojis from the Facebook post because those can mess up things very easily.
Yeah.
So, and then for the for text extraction with images, sometimes you can get little gibberish words put in there because it's not perfect. So I remove those words, and I use a frequency distribution to take the most common words that are in the post and search those in PolitiFact. So like there's kind of 3 different things going on here.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts,
Yeah.
but it's super impressive. Have you tested this out on different titles, and what have you found?
Yeah,
How well does it work?
I have tested a lot of different things on this to try to get the most accurate results, and I found that it has pretty good success at if something exists in PolitiFact, it will find it. So if you have a meme that PolitiFact has debunked and you enter the URL to that meme, it will it will return that information for you. But it's not perfect, and I would definitely like to play around with this further and see what I can do.
Cool. Yeah, this is amazing. And so now that you completed this, do you think you're going to do more computer science in the future at Harvard, or?
Yeah, I've definitely been considering it, and actually this project has kind of made me consider it the most because I've like learned so much from it. I've learned that like even though I had no experience going into it and we didn't talk about like web scraping and stuff in class, you can still kind of learn it on your own. So there's definitely a possibility to go further. So I'm definitely considering taking more CS classes.
Okay, yeah, that's great. Thank you so much for showing us this project. It was awesome. I'm happy you are all watching, and thanks so much. This is CS50.
So I thought that project was super cool. You know, being able to, at a glance, see if something on your Facebook feed is true or not, regardless of what your political affiliation might be. It's important to obviously know, you know, what things are true and what things are not.
Yeah, I agree.
How did you feel about it?
Yeah, like I don't know. Generally, when I'm reading news articles, I try to make sure that the sources are reliable. Try to get different political perspectives. So I think, you know, a tool that sort of makes, you know, sorting through everything and trying to like, you know, weed out the fake news seems really, really useful.
Yeah, absolutely. And how do you feel about the vibe so far here at the fair?
I love
now that we've been here for like
I love
2 hours.
it. Oh my gosh, yeah, it's so busy. We really have like tons of people at the photo booth. The duck is getting so much action. You know, eating tons of popcorn.
You inflated the duck, is that correct?
I did inflate the duck. I inflated the duck.
That's the most important job.
It was the most important job, which is why they gave it to me. No, just a little machine that inflates it for me, but I did have to plug it in.
I think we actually have the Twitch chat running now on Twitch TV, which we've been looking at occasionally.
Yeah.
People saying some interesting things about. I think
What are people saying now?
I think JP guy said make a quick cameo on the stream. Maybe he's referring to the duck. He or she. I'm assuming it's a he.
Okay. Oh, we could maybe get a duck up here. Yeah, a live duck, a mallard
both
duck.
have amazing eyebrows, by the way. So
Amazing.
It's Tom.
I feel
Thank
like
you, it's Tom. I appreciate
actually in the past week I've gotten like 3 compliments on my eyebrows, so I don't know what's going on with that.
I guess it's just a trend. But yeah, thanks so much for everyone who's tuning in. This has been an awesome fair so far. I'm very pleased with this venue.
Oh,
This
it's
venue has
giant.
been
Oh,
amazing.
yeah. I think we needed a venue that was this much bigger because we have so many more people this year, which is so exciting. It's like tons of students, tons of people just sort of from the community gathering together here in the Smith Campus Center.
And nicely, it's in the middle of Harvard Square too, which is awesome. It
Right
looks
in
like we
the
have another interview set up in our interview
Ooh,
station.
wonderful.
So Emma's going to kick us off with an app called Cash Dash, and this looks like a personal finance toolbox.
Exciting.
Take it away.
Hi, my name is Emma Humphrey. This is Chris, Michael, Eric, and their project Cash Dash. So they're going to tell you a little bit about how it works.
Yeah, so for our CS50 final project, we made an iOS app called Cash Dash, which helps users learn a little bit more about personal finance. So I'll show you that right now. This is our home screen. Let's get started. And the 3 of us made 5 components together: a dictionary, a daily report, a curriculum, a financial calculator, and a budget. So first, to start off with the dictionary. If you want to learn a little bit more about terms that you maybe don't know about, you can click on Search Terms and Phrases, and then this gives you a bunch of different terms that you can look up. And if you want to learn the definition, just click on it, and there it is. Yeah. You can also favorite terms, and if you want to see your favorited, just go over to the favorited tabs, and there they are. It's also searchable. Next, we have the daily report, where you can get a little bit more about the newest news in personal finance. So this gets a headline from Bloomberg and the performance of the top 3 stock indices.
Great, so the third component of our app is something called Learn on Your Own, which is basically a personal financial curriculum that we designed based off of information that we pulled from different websites like CNN Money and Better Money Habits from Bank of America. After the welcome screen, you can click next. There are 10 separate subjects, including credit, debt, budgeting, etc. If you click on one of them, it will display all the information you could possibly ever want to know about that subject. And then if we go back to the main menu screen, there's also something that we have which is called a budget calculator. Within this budget, you can input different income, for example, regular take-home pay, dividends, interest, stock, etc. And then you can calculate the total income that you get, and that comes up right there. If we click the next screen, it takes us to expenses. It divides it into flexible expenses and variable expenses. So for example, telephone, TV, internet, utilities, food and groceries. And on the bottom, you can see there are funds available as well as total expenses. So that will tell you how many expenses that you've incurred, as well as how much funds you have left to spend. Finally, on the last screen, you just have a summary of the budget. So you have $50 in total income, $60 in expenses, and negative $10 in your savings.
Sad.
Yeah.
So for the final part of our application, we have a comprehensive financial calculator that lets you calculate things like interest rates, your cash flow, your annuity value, and your leverage. So let's say we want to calculate simple interest. We can just fill out these 3 forms with our principal, our interest rate, and the number of periods that pass. And this will give us a quick calculation of the interest will accrue on this principal. And if we want an explanation of how we got to that value, you can just click explain. It'll give you a quick explanation of our formula, how to use it, and what it's best for. And we have that for 6 different kinds of calculators. And yeah, that's our financial calculator.
Yeah, so that's our app.
So what's the deal? Are you all obsessed with Ec10? Why did you make a financial helper at all?
Well, all 3 of us are really interested in finance, and we felt like in the world of finance, there's a pretty steep learning curve. There's a bit of an entryway to getting into the world of finance. There are a lot of people who want to get into finance, but they can't because they don't have the basic knowledge. So we wanted to make a really user-friendly, Duolingo-esque app that taught all of these concepts in a nice way.
So what was the hardest thing to implement, and what would your ultimate goal be for where you want to take the project, perhaps after the fair?
For most of the project, I think the 3 of us worked independently, so we all had our own challenges. For instance, I had a hard time saving the user's favorited data, like saving the favorited terms that they wanted to keep track of. But then collectively, I think the problem that we spent the most time in was merging our projects together. So after we'd spent like all these hours developing our own projects, we had to put them into one cohesive unit, and that took a lot of time.
Also, none of us have ever coded in Swift before, so that was a big learning experience. All 3 of us learning how to code in Swift, learning the different technical details that come with coding in a new language.
And was it really important to you that it was a mobile application, something that people would be able to use more readily?
Yeah, so for example, we mentioned Better Money Habits, which is kind of a personal financial literacy website that Bank of America hosts. We thought that the app would, 1, give access to a lot more users, and 2, really condense a lot of this information that you'd have to go to multiple websites to into one cohesive app that's 1, free, and 2, is really, really easy to use.
Great. Thank you so much, guys. Thanks for listening. This is CS50.
Thank you.
So, do you want to talk finance now?
A little bit. Something feels different, by the way. How do you?
Yeah, Veronica. No, I was going to say, you really, I think you look gorgeous.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I've been falling in love with you over the course of the past hour.
Confessions with CS50. Here we go.
Yeah.
How do you manage all your finances a lot? Do you use?
I do. So I actually have a 20-year financial plan. Not kidding.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I love planning. And finance is so interesting. Do you keep up with the stock market much?
I don't. It's something I've been wanting to get into.
I know. We want to I know we've talked about Bitcoin, how we're both excited to sort of jump into that world or jump out.
I'm unsure. I'm unsure. I'd be interested to learn more about it. I think Nick wants to do a stream on Bitcoin, which I would really like to.
Yeah, with me, yeah.
You want to be in
Monica,
there?
You should tune in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Great.
I'm excited for that. I've lost track of who I am now.
Do you have a favorite currency?
Favorite currency, probably the U.S. dollar. I would have to
Really?
say. I don't
How
know.
US-centric?
I don't
Wow.
know about very many
Oh
other
my
currencies,
God.
if I'm being honest. I know
Okay.
the Zimbabwe dollar is probably not the. Or what is it? Is it the Nigerian or the Zimbabwe one? It's like $100 trillion bill. They have one of those.
That's pretty cool. I'm not sure. I think it's Zimbabwe, but I'm pretty sure it's Zimbabwe. That would
Yeah.
be my guess. But yeah, no, I think I like the Argentine peso, but that's just like, I think it's like sort of like an objective thing.
What is
Most people,
what's the peso relative to the U.S. dollar? That's the only frame of reference that I
Well,
have.
it's not doing so great right now.
Is it different from the Mexican peso? Like, are they
different
interchangeable?
country. It's a
I know,
different
different country, but are they? But can you use them in either country?
No.
Okay, they just happen to have the same name.
Yes, well actually, it's funny you bring that up. There are actually tons of different pesos, like the Uruguayan peso, I think the Chilean peso, Argentine peso. Like, I think peso is sort of like, actually I don't know if there's an equivalent in whatever, but like Canadian dollars.
Yeah.
Right, so US dollars, Canadian dollars, so just saying dollars is,
And so I'm actually ignorant whether we can. We're not allowed to use dollars, Canadian dollars, in the United States. I'm guessing probably not, and vice
yeah,
versa.
like maybe in some of the northern states, but as far as I know, not typically accepted currency.
Honestly, something I'm completely ignorant about. So I would be, TIO, I guess.
What's TIO?
Today I learned. So it's
Today
a new piece of information, new fact.
Oh, today I learned what TIL means.
Oh, hey, there we go. So
fun.
appropriate.
Do you text TIL too?
I sometimes do, and actually David, known as the Master Jedi on Twitch, is responsible for teaching me that phrase. But it looks like we have a new interview actually, if you want to maybe kick that one off.
Oh, that's exciting. Okay, Andy is going to talk to us about something that helps coaches, build rosters for Ivy League track and field championships. Now that's super exciting. I don't know if you run a lot, but let's run
Certainly
over to them right now.
Welcome back. My name is Andy Chen, and I'm here with
Jacob Ali Wertheimer.
And I'm Nicole Trenchard.
And thank you so much for being here with us today. Could you tell me a little bit about your CS50 final project?
Absolutely. So we built a tool for coaches to help build a championship roster for the Ivy League Track and Field Championships.
Awesome. So how does it work? How does it look? And what was the inspiration for your project?
Yeah, so basically, if you look at our project, here's the homepage. We just kind of have like a basic carousel, just sliding through some images.
Sure.
Just kind of for basic presentation.
Those are great. Which one of those is you?
So at the top you have like just basic nav bar that will extend onto all of our pages.
Okay.
And with it has a home button to just kind of get back to the home page whenever you need it. If you want to, you can go here and view the results from last year's Ivy League championships.
Wow.
You can view any of the rosters sorted by men or women's teams. Let's pick the Harvard University women's team.
Sure.
And here you can see every athlete that's on the team, the events that they do, and where they rank in the Ivy League. In that event, people are going to appear multiple times because someone like Gabby Thomas, for example,
That's
competes
awesome.
in the 100 meter, 200 meter, long jump. So
Wow.
she's gonna have to appear multiple times. And you can just scroll down and you'll see the entire roster, relay teams, where the relay teams rank. And then if you go back, you can search for a specific athlete, for example. So if I type in myself.
So this is all real data, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so related to the motivation for our project, as you can see on this viewer roster page, there are a lot of athletes that do multiple events, and they're projected to score different amounts, and it's really challenging as a coach to figure out which athletes are going to be on your championship roster because you can't bring everyone, and what athletes are going to do which event, right? Because if I did 4 events, how would you choose which one I was most likely to score in?
Right.
So we have all real data from what's called TFers, which is a website with track and field results. And so what we did is we worked directly with our coaches and said, hey, what do you want to know when you're choosing your roster? What's important and what's not important? So we built this with our coaches in mind, with the idea that it would simplify and objectify a bit the athlete choosing process, because not everyone can be on the championship team.
Awesome. And so to follow up on that, I think the implication therein is both of you are athletes here at Harvard?
Yes.
That's awesome. It's how big of a sort of functionality, would you say that this is an issue that coaches are currently facing a lot and that this kind of web application would provide a lot of help with that?
Definitely. We spoke to coaches and every coach had their different methodology. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so every coach kind of had a different philosophy on how they decide to pick their athletes. Some coaches were just, if you don't PR every meet, it's not a good day.
Oh, wow.
Some coaches would say, well, how has the athlete been feeling health-wise? How is their technique looking? Is this an improvement from last meet? And not really focusing too much on the specific number. Whereas some coaches would be like, well, if you're within this range, considering this specific approach that you took, then it was good. So there are kind of a lot of different ideologies. And when it comes down to picking a HEPS team, coaches have to make a lot of tough decisions without a lot of concrete things and data to go off of.
And this would help to...
Yeah, our goal was to kind of simplify that process a bit and make things a little bit easier and a little bit more presentable for coaches too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was also a comfort as an athlete to know that this is a tool that all of our coaches had access to, because some of our coaches built these wild spreadsheets that had hundreds of tabs and all sorts of craziness, and some coaches, which we know we didn't do that, but as an athlete it sort of felt like they closed their eyes and said, you.
Yeah,
and so the goal was, this is a tool for coaches, but also a comfort for athletes. Like, this is a tool that they know their coaches will have access to, so that if they work hard and they have the potential to score, they have a fair shot at going to.
Awesome. Did you get a chance to, or I guess like as student athletes yourselves, how do you feel from the student perspective? What kind of impact do you think this project has for student athletes on the student side?
I guess we could consider that ourselves as student athletes. I think to some extent it will maybe remove help to remove whatever sense you may have of like, darn, coach didn't pick me because he doesn't like me, whether or not that's actually the case.
Right.
Our goal is to kind of make that process a little bit more objective and a little bit less subjective, so that we have a little more, so that the act of picking a team is
more
Transparent.
reason-based and more transparent.
Sure.
So the athletes and the coaches both have a better understanding of why they made the decision that they did.
And for me as someone, I do multiple events, and I know that I need to score a certain number of points in this to help out the team, and I need to score a certain number of points in my other event. But if my first event doesn't go great, I now know exactly how many points I sort of owe to my team, and maybe I'm going to throw a little bit further or jump a little bit higher because I know sort of what is expected of me.
Right.
Instead of this amorphous, like, do a great job. You know, make sure you jump a personal best because that's a lot of pressure on an athlete.
It is.
So having really clear expectations, sort of your coach selected you because they thought you were going to score 7 points, feels a whole lot better than coach wants you to do everything perfectly.
Right.
So that was really comforting for me.
Awesome. So I hope to be able to see this on the new Harvard team websites. The coach is using that. I guess if we were to make a little bit of a transition, what did you think the CS50 was? Because there's sort of this mysterious aura to the idea of CS50 as a class. And I was wondering if you guys could talk about how you felt before taking the class and now that you're virtually done with the class.
Yeah. So for me personally, I thought this course was really just going to be more like focused more on like what specific functions do rather than actually implementing them and getting to play with them.
Right.
Because like instead everything is like, yeah, we're going to teach you these things, but you're actually going to use them.
Yeah, you're going to make it yourself.
In every sense. But I think even though that was really difficult kind of going along with the process, by the end of it, I kind of just was going through this project and I was like, wow, like I really kind of understand a lot of this stuff that I had no clue of before. And even so, it's like I look at another website and like I kind of understand what's going on here.
Sure.
And I could kind of understand like how to do what I would want the website to do.
Right.
What I want it to do, rather than just being like, I don't know, it just does
Magic.
the thing.
Yeah. Or as David likes to say, understanding what's happening under the hood.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the thing that was most rewarding for me is a lot of our website is data scraping using a tool called Beautiful Soup, which I had never heard of before we proposed our CS50 final project. But somehow along the way, I had learned enough to learn something new.
Incredible.
Which was really awesome. You know, I could use inspect mode in Google Chrome and look at a website and say, okay, I can scrape it using this. And that was so not where I started when I first enrolled in this class.
Incredible. 12 weeks ago, did you have any idea that you would be able to make your own website like this?
Yeah, definitely not. Like at the beginning of the semester, like when you're just like using C, which really gave me a lot of trouble.
It is a lot.
And still would give me a lot of trouble. Like just kind of figuring out, like I just didn't really see, no pun intended, like where any of this was going because it was just like, okay, like I printed blocks that kind of look like Mario and their hashtags. But like just kind of the progression of everything and like you see how everything was connected from week 1 until the end and like you need those fundamentals.
Yeah.
It's just kind of crazy for me to see like anything and just be like, wow, like I'm kind of capable of doing this.
Yeah. And now you can, and you have. Do you think that you're going to do anything more computer sciencey or potentially take more CS classes in the future?
I know so as somebody who's, one of my concentrations is in statistics.
Okay, sure.
And I'm very interested in like sports analytics and also just kind of pouring into data in general. So I'm probably going to end up taking data science.
CS109, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll probably have to take that. And then there have been other CS classes that I've considered as well.
Sure. Nicole?
Yeah, so I'm a mechanical engineering concentrator, and while I might not take more CS classes, I now know I don't have to shy away from thesis topics that involve computer science, which is
That's awesome.
Really comforting for me. So I'm getting ready to think, okay, what do I want my mechanical engineering senior thesis to be, which is usually this big, crazy project. And now I know I can learn what I need to learn, just like we did with this project. So I have a lot more options with my thesis.
That's amazing. I think one of the big takeaways for a lot of CS50 students is removing the fear of like computer science being a scary topic and being able to learning how to teach yourself to do computer science. And so thank you so much for being with us here today. This is CS50.
Wow, I would definitely use that site if I were a coach. Oh my God, did you play any sports in school?
Not
I'm sure
really.
all of them. Oh.
I did a little bit of golf when I was a kid, but I don't know if you can't consider that really a sport. Probably it's more of a game.
It's a sport. It's a sport. You walk a lot. People always say you burn so many calories playing, golf.
Yeah.
And that's actually probably the sport I would have guessed that you had done in high school.
I wonder who had. All right, so it looks like we have another field interview actually all set up. So
okay.
Nick's in the field. He's going to show us an app about discovering exoplanets in the universe. And appropriately, this is another one using machine learning. So let's check this one out.
Let's do it.
Awesome. Hello, this is Nick, and I am here with Zeal and Jackson, and their awesome project on exoplanets and machine learning, which sound very fancy. Zeal, would you mind telling me a little bit about what your project does?
Yeah, absolutely. So we were interested in using machine learning algorithms to try and find exoplanets in space right now.
Very cool.
So currently in the world, there's two major satellites that are doing it right now. There's TESS and there's Kepler by NASA. So how we currently find them in the world is that when a planet orbits in front of its mother star in a distant galaxy far away, that planet will cause a dip in the light, as you can see in this graph, and that dip in light is what's called the transit. And if it's occurring frequently enough, if it's periodic enough over time, say like if the planet's transit was happening every 4 days, then astronomers can conclude that this is happening because a planet's orbiting in front of the star and not due to any instrumentation error and such like that. So we wanted to try and discover and classify those transits as whether they were exoplanet transits or non-exoplanet transits. So we created a CNN, which is a type of neural network, a machine learning algorithm, and trained it off of a massive cluster of data from Kepler. So we had confirmed exoplanets, which we can see here through all of these periodic dips, and then we also had non-confirmed exoplanets on the bottom right here, which were due to asteroids passing by or comets. And then we took all of this data and we ran it through our machine learning algorithm, and we were able to predict whether it's an exoplanet or not with an 88% accuracy. And Jackson can tell you more about that.
Yeah, actually machine learning is a really broad platform. Jackson, would you mind telling us a little bit about the platform underneath? What tools did you use? What were some maybe bugs you encountered?
Yeah, sure. So this was run, we just ran it on a couple of Python files using Keras, which is built on TensorFlow, if anyone's familiar with that. So basically what I did was I built a two-layer convolutional neural network, which is basically a specified type of neural network for image classification. It's especially good at that. Okay. So basically, for anyone not familiar with it, basically what this is doing is we're taking what I like to call like small little windows of the image. We're looking at maybe like, for me, it was a 3x3 little window, and we're going through every single window in that image, and we're looking for certain patterns. So for me, I did a 500 by 500 grayscale image, so that way it's just black and white. So we're looking for certain little patterns within the image, and then that's the convolution layer. And then we add a pooling layer on top of that. So that's like, we'll take the 500 by 500 image and make it 250 by 250. That way we kind of...
maybe pull out the most important features?
We model the most important, like humans, we tend to look for the most important features, not the fine details. So that's exactly what we're doing here. Okay, and then we do that one more time, and we flatten the data out in the one dimension. And then we send that to two final neurons on the inside, classifying as yes, this is a light curve, and no, this is not a light curve. And like Zeal said, we're doing that with about 88 to 90% accuracy. The only caveat was we wish we would have had a little bit more time to compile more photos.
Makes sense.
So yeah,
always difficult.
Always could do more with machine learning, of course.
Right.
So really, we'd be looking to get thousands or so for like an industry standard. Yeah. But this is only about 100 or so. We're doing a train test split of about 28% to model for overfitting as much as possible, get it away. That's awesome. So we're doing about 70 training and 30 testing.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So I don't really remember the machine learning piece set in CS50.
No, that's
I don't think
correct.
there was one, actually. So would you guys mind telling me, how did the skills you learned in CS50 kind of translate?
Well,
how did you guys take CS50 and make a machine learning model?
So I would say a bit of a side note, the inspiration was just like, we were in the same dorm, met up during opening days, like, oh yeah, got a lot of same interests. So so we met up, we both had interest in like machine learning, that sort of stuff, and then as CS50 Final Project got closer, we're like, hey, why don't we do like, why don't we do this project? They're like, for
planets, machine learning.
Planet detection, yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
So what was your initial question again? I'm sorry.
Basically, how did you feel CS50 prepped you for it?
Yeah, so the hardest part of this was just like, not necessarily like getting like compile time errors, like syntax errors or anything like that, but it's like, learning how to use the Keras module. It's been a while since I used Keras. I tinkered with it in like 11th grade, but that was like the most I've ever done with it. So it was just kind of reading through the documentation, which CS50 has certainly prepared me for. This been about 10 to 11 weeks straight of that now. So reading through that, just kind of figure out what everything does. And whenever the main problem I had with the project was when we were training it, the loss at the beginning, within the first 2 or 3 epochs, was just like diverging insanely. It's like loss on the first
It was
epoch.
losing its mind, basically, as a machine.
Loss on the first epoch was like 0.8, and then on the second one it was like 6. So we had to decrease the learning rate, make it learn slower.
Makes sense.
I like to think of it as like you're trying
Slower
to
descent gradient.
find the valley,
Yeah.
and you're jumping over the valley too fast. So
Yeah,
if
exactly.
you decrease the learning rate, you're taking baby steps instead of huge leaps.
That's awesome.
It trains slower, but you get it done. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Well, I think you guys' project is really cool. Thank you so much for sharing with us. My name is Nick Wong, and this is CS50.
Hello world, I'm back here with Veronica and Colton to chat about some of the projects we've just seen.
Yeah.
How's it been going from your vantage point up here?
It's really great. Yeah. Really cool to sort of just hear about all of the cool stuff that students are doing with everything they've learned in the course so far.
A lot of machine learning I'm noticing, which is, you know, something that's very much in vogue, but it's nice to see that students are actually going out on their own, looking at these libraries and implementing it.
Yeah, indeed. I've seen a number of students using APIs too to do OCR, or optical character recognition, generating QR codes.
Very
Just
cool,
saw a project where you can scan someone else's phone a la Snapchat and exchange all of your iOS contact information with them, which is pretty wild.
Yeah.
And then there was one project downstairs, a student who had never taken a programming class before CS50 just a few months ago, had done a website called PolitiFact. And PolitiFact was an app whereby you could paste in like the URL of a seemingly suspicious post on Facebook. She then did optical character recognition on the post, extracted the text, sent the text off to politifact.com, which then gave back some textual answer as to whether this is good or bad information.
Indeed.
And you tell the user.
She was actually interviewed up here in the interview station too.
Yeah, so I actually saw her on the floor. We discovered her at the CS50 Fair, and her project so amazing. And there were a number of those that actually did sort of sentiment analysis of text and images.
Yeah, another
which is really
person
cool
did
thing.
another person did a similar one with tweets, just like sort of
yes,
prior
just like
CS50.
a former preset that we had
quantifying the sentiment,
last year. Indeed.
So exciting.
Indeed.
Oh, wow.
All right.
Okay. Any other, what about tips for navigating the fair?
Tips for navigating the fair: come
I know there's a
early,
lot of
come
people.
often.
Yeah.
So much going on, but we do have 3 shifts, and the next shift is about to start in 10 minutes. So
That's
we'll probably
exciting.
see on the live stream another peak of
Okay.
attendees.
Have you used the photo booth at all?
I have. Doug and
You
I,
have,
CS50
okay.
preceptor Doug and I hopped in the photo booth a little bit ago.
That's exciting.
So
Can't
keep
wait
an
to
eye
see
on Facebook and
Okay,
beyond for that.
okay.
So for what it's worth, I think one of the most amazing things about the fair ultimately is just how many things students have gone off and taught themselves,
Really
and all these
incredible.
projects
Yeah,
demonstrate that. In fact, coming up next is Dylan, and we're going to take a look at Princess Programming Adventures to continue this narrative of students doing amazing things.
Oh, awesome.
Hi, my name is Dylan. I am currently on staff here at CS50, and I'm introducing a new project. This is Karen, and why don't you introduce your project for us here?
Hi, so I realized that there's a really big gap in the number of women in computer science compared to the number of men. There's recent studies that show that only 17% of CS majors are women, and I thought that was a really big gap.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's because girls just don't like computer science. I think it's because they didn't have as much of an opportunity to get interested in it, because all the games for young kids related to programming is themes like robots, spaceships, fighting, and girls really usually don't like that. So I decided to try something different, and I did the game Princess Programming Adventure. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into this game and what made you so inspired, building off of what you just said earlier.
So I wanted to get a game to give my little sister to play to see if I could get her interested in it, and then I realized that there aren't any for her to play that would get her really into it. So I decided to make one. And I tried to get everything that would get girls interested in it, so like cute graphics, customization of characters, and like a cute natural scenario and stuff like that.
Okay, cool. So why don't we dive into your project? Can you show me a little bit about what this project does and how it's supposed to inspire young girls to help start coding?
So the game would technically begin with customization of the character.
Okay.
So you can change everything basically about her, the hair color, the accessories that she's wearing, the hairstyles, and the outfit, everything basically. So I haven't connected the levels yet, but this is how the level 1 looks like. So it's a basic drag and drop. Yeah, so it's loading. So the game isn't supposed to teach everything about programming, it's just to get them interested enough so they can pursue for themselves. So the first level is super simple. You have to get her to move from one purple square to the other. So when you run it, she walks. And when you get there, there's fireworks and everything. And that's basically how the first level looks. And
Oh, right. So when you put this arrow in there, you do it 3 times, it just tells the thing to run 3 times,
Yeah.
right? Sort of like a loop. in CS.
So she would walk 3 squares forward. You
Yeah.
can also, for example, throw the arrows in the trash if you don't want to use them again.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. How did the levels become more and more difficult, and what do you think that the levels are trying to build towards?
So basically the whole story that I'm going to go around is that her best friend, this character, has been kidnapped by an evil witch. So she has to find the witch and like save the best friend and everything. So the levels are going to build up to that and getting harder and harder as it progresses. So the level 2 that I already built, but it's not. You can kind of see it over here, but it's not running in this computer because I did it in my other one. But it already has terms and it's going to get more complicated. So I'm going to put loops and functions and maybe if statements so that the player can understand a little bit more complex computer science ideas without making it too complicated.
Yeah. I love the motivation of trying to find in like the witch or something, right?
Yeah.
Like kids, all these, like naturally they wouldn't want to do it unless there was some sort of hidden objective,
Exactly.
you know? Are you thinking about maybe adding a few treasure chests or something like that?
Yeah, I'm also thinking about maybe adding like an ability to use like a special power of something that maybe she discovers during her travels, or like she meets friends or like some animals.
Oh, okay, okay.
The good thing about Unity is that it offers like a bunch of different assets that you can use, so I can easily like import witch characters and different animals and stuff to make the game more interesting.
Right. What was the experience sort of programming it, you know? Like this seems like the graphics are so cool, they're so deep, and the characters just really come to life when you like tell it to move forward 3 steps. How do you program that?
So the animations, I kind of have to put them together in the code over here. So when you click the character, you can usually see it. So the animations are already made, but you have to do if statements and things like that to make sure that they run accordingly. So here you can see the animations. It's on a loop, basically for when she's not moving, so she's just standing and like looking around, so she looks natural.
Yeah.
And then when she starts walking, there's an if statement that says, oh, she's walking. So then she moves to the walking animation, so she walks, everything, and there's like a code for that. So it's basically object oriented, so there's a different code for everything.
Yeah.
Just drag it and it kind of works that way. Yeah.
That's really cool. How do you think that you can sort of scale this in the future? Where do you think that you can build in terms of the code and also implementing new features? Like how do you see it scaling for iOS, Android, new operating systems like that?
So the good thing about Unity is that you can kind of use it for whatever you want. Like I think you can are even able to put it in Wii U if I wanted to.
Okay.
So I can put it on the Apple Store, on for Androids, even put it on the internet. So basically anybody can have access to it.
Yeah. I'm sure that'd be really great because you know currently it's very difficult for girls to get interested in coding through the current software available. So this is definitely getting a wide acceptability through all kinds of platforms, all kinds of operating systems is very crucial. So that's really cool. Can you tell us a little bit about what you think you learned from this project? What experience do you think that, do you feel like you were super motivated and driven to finish this project? It felt very purposeful. What did you feel while doing this project and what did you gain from it?
When I started this project, I had absolutely no knowledge of Unity or C#, which is what the programming language that I use. So I watched a bunch of YouTube videos to figure out how to do it and stuff like that. And it was a bit hard because, for example, for me, the hardest part itself was to do the drag and drop.
Okay.
Because let me show you, there's 3 types of draggable things. So the first one, there's this one that is infinite. So you have to keep generating infinite amount of arrows, for example.
Yeah.
This one you have to be able to like switch the order around and where you want to put it. And this one has to be able to delete any objects that you place into it. So I think I spent like only a week working on this part, and that was definitely the most complicated one. But I think that like, I learned so much on it, and like how to troubleshoot, especially since there were so many mistakes. Yeah.
Yeah. That's like, I guess that's just a part of programming. I think it's also super inspirational, right? Like not only is the game inspirational, but you are an inspiration for being able to look up all these YouTube videos and start coding in C#, which is, I guess, like you might say, not super popular language, especially as a language to begin with. And it really came out really amazing. What do you think that this project shows about the future of education in CS?
I think it's really important because there's so many efforts and so many clubs, at least at my school, that are trying to get girls into programming or STEM and stuff like that. And I really think that's going to help because everything starts from a young age. Like kids, when they're small, it already really helps them shape their future and decide what they want to do. So with this game, they might decide, oh, I really like coding, I really like this game, maybe I want to get into programming. And that's like the whole reason why I made it.
Right. Sort of creating a goal as opposed to something just like pushing girls towards it, right?
Yeah.
Where do you see your future in CS being, or where do you see like yourself going with this sort of project in the future? Like I guess with respect to your career.
So that's definitely what I want to do in college, since I'm still in high school.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I'm a junior in high school in Miami, and I probably want to do something related to that in college, maybe game making or not. I really like NASA, so maybe something related to that.
Oh,
but
okay.
I still a lot of options where I can go. Just kind of interested in programming itself.
Okay. Well, it was great to meet you, Karen. This is really an amazing project. Thank you for joining us for this project, the Princess Project. This is CS50, and thank you for joining us again.
Hello world, we're back here atop the CS50 Fair looking down at all of these projects and all of the people who just keep coming in.
That's really exciting. Yeah, we just saw a really, really great project trying to sort of encourage more young women to start coding. And I think we do a lot of that in CS50, which is great.
Yeah, I mean, we've been fortunate that over the past few years, the gender balance in the class has actually gotten closer and closer to 50%. We hit last year 44%. This year we're a little lower, but still above 40%. So we're not quite yet at 50, but it's been great to see students from all demographics coming into the class and discovering, frankly, computer science and other STEM fields really for the very first time, especially when their high schools don't offer those programs. I mean, what was the first CS class you took? Something?
The first CS class I took actually was Scratch in 11th grade. I took a trimester of Scratch. Did a small project and then jumped right into CS50 my freshman year, first term here.
Nice, and how about you, Colton? Your first programming experience?
Probably in 2007 when I started looking into game programming, buying books and sort of those things. The tutorials online weren't as good. Stack Overflow I don't think was made until 2011.
Oh, wow.
So it was a very much more book-oriented approach.
How did you do it?
Oh,
That's
man.
a struggle.
It took me a long time. 2011 is right when I started to get a little bit better as a programmer, so coincidentally.
Oh, interesting.
And look at where you're now.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell us more about the vibe down there, because we're sort of stuck here in a fun little alcove of sorts. But I want to know, what is it like in the middle of the fair?
It's actually
Smack
pretty
in the middle.
intense. I mean, there are literally hundreds of people. We have a lot of sort of bar height tables laid out with large tablecloths and lots of laptops, power, lots of Wi-Fi in the space.
How does the Wi-Fi work? That seems hard to, I don't know, sustain.
This is how the Wi-Fi
Oh my God, okay,
No,
okay.
There's 55 access points or wireless access points in the area, each of which can handle a few dozen users.
Wow.
And that might sound like a lot, but honestly, if you have
It
all
does
of
sound
these
like a lot.
laptops and all of us have phones in our pockets, some of us have watches on our arms, I mean, each of those is a Wi-Fi connection and it really gets consumed quickly.
Okay, my Wi-Fi's working though, so that seems like a pretty strong network. Yeah.
Well, we have had
That's
some
exciting.
problems at past fairs where the capacity just wasn't there or a machine was misconfigured and we're really dead in the water. So we're always holding our breath with that.
Yeah, all of today's communication from the production team has also been online, so I've been crossing my fingers to make sure that we have all the info we need to be able to toss it to the right people at the right time.
In fact, fun fact, we've been tossing to our correspondents in the field as we interview students right down there in the CS50 Fair, and last year we tried doing that wirelessly, using I think a 5 gigahertz or so signal between CS50's production team and the folks on the ground. The problem was so many people's laptops work on the 5 gigahertz spectrum as well, and so we were clobbering each other, therefore actually hurting the very projects that we were trying to capture.
Oh, that's tough. Well, at least we were different and better this year.
Indeed, and there's so much Wi-Fi capacity today. In fact, so much so that the room is filled with memes. In fact, we're going to next toss to Athena in the field, one of our teaching fellows, who's going to take a look at memes for moms to help parents better understand what it is their kids are sharing today.
So interesting.
Hi, I'm Athena. I'm here with Andrew, Sam, and Lucas. We're going to be talking about their Memes for Moms project. I thought it was pretty funny when I walked by, so I thought I would share it with the rest of the stream, the audience. So how about you guys give us a quick run through your project?
Sure, so our project is called Memes for Mums, with the New Zealand spelling, as these two guys are from New Zealand. And it's an educational website, or almost like social media for parents to learn about memes. So Sam here has provided us with knowledge of memes and also these 5 formats. One, advice animals, film and TV, but also we have ironic memes, video memes, and miscellaneous memes. So Lucas, if you want to just click on Film and TV. So inside Film and TV, we have the individual meme, and then Sam's description of the meme. And you can even like memes if you like, let's say you like the SpongeBob meme. There, now you've liked the meme, and it's your user's session ID is stored so that when you like a meme, it stays liked if you log out and log back in again. So Lucas, if you want to show us the most popular memes, this is in the meta category. So yeah, our most popular meme is Just Joking Joe, 363 likes, and we happen to like that one already. So there they are.
So where are you guys getting all of the information about these memes? Did you input them yourselves, or?
Sam.
So we store all the information for our memes in a SQL database saved in the CS50 IDE. So whenever the page is loading, it's just drawing all the information straight from the SQL database and putting it on our website.
Okay, great.
Now our favorite part is create a meme, which we'll show you here. So considering I'm the meme connoisseur in charge of the meme database, I'll make us a fantastic meme. So let's use Bad Luck Brian, that meme template. And hold up, Andrew, do you want to hold to that?
Sure.
So goes to CS50 Fair. Doesn't meet Malin. Aww.
That's sad.
Very bad luck. Poor Brian.
Which, by the way, is now a lie because I brought David over to meet them.
This is a lie. We did meet Malin, which was very fantastic. And so there's our meme, all generated. We can save the image if we like. And then our final function is a search function. So say we want to find memes all related to dogs. We can put in the word dog. And then it returns all the memes that have the word dog in the title, as we can see here. And we can like it and read all about it from there too.
So Lucas, do you have a favorite meme, a favorite use for this website?
Favorite meme. I can't say I have a favorite meme. I like the Grinch meme.
What is the Grinch meme?
We'll show you the Grinch meme.
I, for one, don't know memes very well, so this is helpful for me also.
Love the way he dances, eh?
Oh, great. Good times, good
fantastic,
times.
yeah.
So what sort of inspired the project? Do your parents struggle with memes, or?
Well, in general, we feel that mums might not be up to date with what's going on in their children's lives, so hopefully by using the site, they're more educated.
Right. So in implementing something like this, what were some of the challenges that you guys had? If you had to pick one feature that was really, really hard to implement, what would it be?
Beach over here worked on the like for about 15 hours, I think.
Yeah, so the like button took me quite a long time.
Okay.
Because I didn't want a button, like a physical submit form button, because I thought, one, I didn't want to reload the page every time you clicked it, and I also didn't like the way it looked. So I made these little heart images. They kind of look like Instagram, I have to say.
Yeah.
But I think I like the way that Instagram implemented that, and I'm a history of art and architecture concentrator, so I thought, yeah. And so basically, I wanted the likes to be persistent. So when you logged out, logged back in, your liked images or your like memes would still be liked. So I have a function, a JavaScript function, that is called when each meme image is loaded. So not the meme button itself, but the meme image. And so that will check the likes database table, which is a database table containing your user session ID and also the meme ID that you liked. And so that's called in reference, so we know to load the red one. There's two images, the empty and the full.
Okay.
And then when you click it, it calls our like JavaScript function.
Just increments something in the database?
In the database, it uses Ajax to go back to Python. Yeah.
Awesome.
So yeah.
Done.
Cool.
Nicely done. So I noticed that your history of art and architecture, we have mechanical engineering and biomedical engineering. What are you guys doing in CS50?
Well, at least me personally, you're probably asking the most, and I thought it would be a fun course to take.
Yeah. Was it a fun course to take?
Yeah, I really liked it, and I thought it would be good to show on my CV, I guess, or not CV, but my transcript that I can actually do math and science stuff when I'm doing something that's so qualitative and art. Like, I mean, CS is kind of art in a way. Like,
Yes.
there's totally
Yeah,
design, exactly.
right? Mhm.
And I want to do design, so.
So what better way than with computers?
Sure,
How
yeah.
about you two?
Well, so for both me and Lucas, doing engineering, CS50 is actually a course requirement. But
Along with your like 8,000 other ones.
well,
right?
along with every single other
Yeah.
class at Harvard that we have to take, yes. But
Amazing.
it is also very like I feel like CS50 is one of those classic Harvard classes that you sort of I don't know. I feel like you have to take it. Sort of like EC10 or CS50 are like they're just quintessential Harvard classes. You
Right,
just
although
gotta
of course
take
CS50 is the better of
Of course,
those.
CS50 is the
Of
better
course.
one. Absolutely. I would agree with that.
Yeah, there you go.
We also took the class for the free shirts.
really wanted the shirt.
Did you guys get your free shirts?
We did. The first thing we got when we came
amazing.
here.
So I guess, how about like one last question? So standing here at the fair, right? A lot of people come into CS50 from different backgrounds, less comfy, more comfy. How does it feel now having like a working website, knowing a lot more than you did, 8, 9 weeks ago?
Well, it feels good.
Yeah?
It feels good to be done, and it feels good that like how much we've progressed over our time through CS50. I feel like I've learned so much, and it's just one of those classes that does that to you.
Going into CS50, I hadn't wrote one line of code before, and now having made this website with all these features and done it in only one semester, is like shows how much you can learn, and if you just put a little bit of effort in. It was pretty wicked to see our finished project now. Yeah.
Yeah, and at first I felt that, the pace was pretty fast, but it just amazed me like how quickly you figure it out. I guess it's like I kind of like the idea of just throwing you into the deep end just a little bit, and you can just crawling your way out because that's I don't know.
Or swimming your way out, as the case might be. Yeah.
And I liked it a lot. Just learned so much.
That's great. Oh, thank you all so much for talking to me.
Yeah.
My name's Athena, and this is CS50.
All right, awesome. Well, that was a cool app. I feel like a lot of these apps are very inspired by sort of personal, real-world use cases.
Do you like memes?
I do like memes, and to this app, I also think that my mom probably doesn't even know a single meme.
Okay,
I don't
okay,
think
so
she
you
spend
would-
a lot of time online, so I think she would barely benefit from this application.
And she can maybe get a better
Exactly.
sense for like what your life is like via
I think
memes.
so. I think
Okay.
a little tap into that culture just a little bit,
Okay. Do you like free stuff?
Free stuff is always good.
How about a free T-shirt?
Ooh, so this is the CS50 T-shirt. This is this year's model. So this is a fantastic free item that you get by coming to the fair as a student.
Yeah, I think this is like the main reason I took CS50, just for the shirt.
Yeah.
Just
no,
kidding.
No, it's good stuff. And I think most people, I think all students get one. And
All
I'm
students
not
get
sure,
it, yeah.
I think we
Very
have sort
excited.
of fairly limited stock, but
Yeah, it's an exclusive shirt.
we have another interview set up in our interview
Ooh,
station.
okay.
So this one's with Emily. So shout outs to Emily. So we got a personal PFAS exposure assessment is the name of the app, which estimates PFAS exposures based on your personal attributes.
Can't wait. Awesome.
Hi, my name is Emily Hong, and I'm a TF for CS50, and I'm here with...
Hi, I'm Nicole Nishizawa. I'm a senior, and I'm studying environmental engineering, and this is CS50.
This is CS50. Let's check out your project. So tell me about what you did.
Sure. So I made this personal PFAS assessment. So PFAS is a class of chemicals. They're used for their stain and water repellency properties, but they've also been linked to certain adverse health effects, like lowering toddlers' immune deficiencies, and they're also present in the blood of serum of all of Americans. So in much of exposure assessment in general, they take inputs from people's body weights and how much food they eat and that sort of thing. So I thought it would be interesting to make it personal. So here you can kind of like read about what PFAS is, how you're exposed to PFAS, and then take the assessment. So you can go ahead and take the assessment.
All right, I'll try it out. Okay, looks like we've got a form here. I'm gonna put in my age. Oh, I'm gonna put in my weight. How much water do I drink? Oh, this is a cool sliding scale. How did you do this?
Yeah, so I used a slider. It was part of W3 Schools. Great
Oh,
plug.
yeah, totally
Love that.
recommend.
JavaScript, it's great.
Okay, cool. So I'm gonna put a slider, probably like 50%. Okay, and I think I eat all of these things. So
Okay,
I'm
cool.
gonna check
Yeah.
all of them.
I know I thought about doing like vegetarian or vegan, but I know a lot of people have certain specific dietary restrictions. So just decided to make this sort of checkbox attribute.
Are these proteins, like, do they have especially high levels of PFAS, or like, why did you include these specifically?
I think more of like the meats have it, and I think most of that has to do with a lot of the way that they're packaged. So food packaging has a lot of PFAS in them just to make sure that they're grease resistant, oil resistant, and that sort of thing. So more transfer from those types of products make them have greater contamination.
Gotcha. Okay, so I'm gonna keep checking, and then I'm just gonna, it looks like I'm gonna submit the form. Sweet. Oh, and I got my personal assessment results.
Got your results.
Oh, look, and this is an interactive graph. Do you mind going through like what this graph means?
Yeah, so these are two of the most studied PFAS compounds, PFOS and PFOA, and you can see like how much your daily estimate is in terms of, or in comparison to like minimum risk levels. So it looks like your PFOS intake is at or above the minimum risk level.
Oh no!
So the minimum risk level is 2, so it looks like you're just above that.
Oh my God, okay.
And PFOA seems like you're all good. You can take the assessment again if you're interested in some other demographic of population. You can also read more about what affects your exposure and how food and water is contaminated through PFAS, carpet and dust, as well as indoor and dermal, and then some little tips on how you can reduce your exposure. And then I'll do a little quick plug for the Green Science Policy Institute, which does a lot of informative guides about chemicals and consumer products, and they're a great resource to look at as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Would you mind talking about like what inspired you to do this specific project?
Yeah, sure. So I mean, my thesis is on PFAS, and I'm looking at how toddlers are exposed from carpets and dust in the indoor environment. So I decided to make usually like what is a broad exposure assessment on some sort of population to something that's more personal that people probably care about more, instead of reading online about, oh, certain things cause cancer in a broad sense, and things that make it more personal, like make you care about it more.
Yeah. Awesome. And then just a last question for you, like, how did you feel taking CS50 this semester? Did you have CS experience before?
A little bit in the engineering classes that I've taken, but it definitely has been a whirlwind of a class, a lot of fun. Glad to have come out of it with a project like this that I'm proud of. So it's been an experience for sure.
Well, thank you so much, Nicole.
Yeah,
and
thank you.
Just to finish up, this is CS50.
This is CS50.
Oh, it's always so cool to see such great projects and people that are so excited that sort of at the end of the course they can pull all of that together and do something that they're really, really proud of.
It really is, and we see, again, per the last project that we saw, you see all these people coming in with all these projects that they have sort of been inspired by real-world use cases, right?
Like
so
chemicals.
It looks like we have another field.
Okay, yeah, Nick is going to interview a student with a video playback and gaze visualization project for the Tobii glasses. Can't wait. And
hello, this is Nick, and I am here with Diana. We are going to talk about a very cool project that she has built, dealing with some sort of like kind of interpreting where we're looking based on glasses we're wearing. I don't know that much about it, so I'm going to let Diana tell you, how does this project work? What does it do?
So I work in a lab in the education school, and the project that we're working on is currently, we're using this very cool commercially available eye tracking glasses. Where you can actually track your gaze wherever you're looking.
Wow, that's awesome.
So we're trying to use it to study whether having this kind of gaze data would help a teacher teach and help a student learn.
Okay, awesome.
So one problem that we're having with these glasses is the gaze replay software can only be operated on Windows, and you can't really easily change how gaze is visualized, which can kind of pretty much determine whether the gaze information will be helpful or not. So I just developed this, I guess, simple-ish Python code to solve this problem.
Sure. Can you tell us what's going on your screen right now? What are we looking at on this screen?
All right. So the video currently playing is one of our participants manipulating with the teaching material.
Okay.
And the red dot, red circle that's currently moving indicates exactly where the participant was looking at during the time.
Okay.
So as a researcher, we're interested in identifying exactly which frame was of importance and which gaze was interesting. So you can just mark the exact frames that you're interested in studying, and then everything else will be exported into a data file in a CSV form. So researchers
so
can
good
look
for
back.
researchers.
Yes.
Awesome. So this sort of project seems like it'd be really cool if we could do it in real time, right? If I know exactly where you're looking at all times, I can do all sorts of things with measurement. Is that what's possible now because you have the ability to play back both the data frame and where they're looking all at once?
Yes, currently it's possible for another person to see exactly where you're looking at using this kind of glasses.
Awesome.
In fact, the glasses were developed so that companies will know exactly where consumers are looking at when they're shopping, which can be a little bit of concerning.
Yeah, it sounds kind of like a privacy concern.
Yes.
If you were to, I guess, have a word of caution towards using these in the future, what would that be?
I guess I would caution against if you're giving permission for somebody else to get access to your gaze data, you want to know exactly how they're going to use the data for and when they will be collecting those kind of data.
Awesome. And how do you feel CS50 prepared you to build a project like this? I don't remember a piece set exactly about glasses and gaze data.
Well, when I started, I barely know how to code in Python. And now I can write
This looks a little different than
200
barely knowing.
lines of code that totally works in a real life setting.
That's awesome.
Oh, thanks for CS50. Yeah.
Wow, that's really cool. And you felt pretty prepared going into that?
Yes.
That's awesome. We always, I mean, I'm a little biased, but I like to hear that. Wow. Well, thank you so much for sharing your project with us. We really appreciate it, Diana. And my name is Nick Wong, and this is CS50.
That was such a cool project. I don't have Toby glasses, but I'm sure if I did, that would make a lot more sense to me. But I see you have glasses. So actually now you'll see that Colton's missing, and instead we're joined by Lucas. Super exciting. Former CS50 head TF. What year?
I was 2013.
2013. 5 years ago. Wow.
It's been a while. It's kind of weird.
What's it like being back?
I mean, it's always nice. I was here last year too. I always try to come. It's always very nice. I mean, it's great talking to students and seeing all the projects. I love just walking around and seeing what people are doing. So.
Okay, so you were here last year. So you were here when we were at the Northwest Labs.
Yes.
What do you think of being here in the Smith Campus Center?
I mean, I think it's really nice. It's definitely packed, but I think it's great because having all these floors, we get to see all of the activity and the craziness. It's pretty awesome.
Okay, so funny story. So actually, I met Lucas last night. We had a holiday dinner at Mather. It was super fun. And you brought a special something for David, for Professor Malin. What was that?
Well, so David and I have been friends for a while now, and and I love baking. So he's always seeing the cakes that I make, and then he told me that he wanted me to make him a cake, and you know I live in the Bay Area, so it's kind of a kind of
a trek.
Yeah, but he told me that he liked lemon and orange cake, so I brought him lemon and orange cake. It was half lemon, half orange. And I also made it very confusing, so the orange cake was actually lemon colored and the lemon cake was orange colored.
Oh, of course. Yeah, I would have done the same thing.
What did you think of it?
So I actually tried it. And I had 2 slices, one of the lemon, one of the orange. Both so delicious.
I'm glad.
So delicious. Best cake I'd had in maybe a year. So congratulations. Phenomenal cake baker. And I'm sure you also do a bunch of other stuff. So I see that you're wearing a Facebook shirt. Just kidding.
Nope, Google. Yeah, now 2 years strong, yes.
Wow, that's exciting. Okay, so you're also sort of hanging out at the sponsor table a bit.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I was here last year as well. I actually work at YouTube, which is part of Google.
Cool.
And I really enjoy
you can go watch this video on YouTube right after.
Honestly, during work, I'm watching YouTube all day as well.
Good.
So I'm a very active user.
Okay,
Yeah.
anything, any sort of tips for anyone that's either in the fair or going to be walking around the fair sort of, you know, is it easy to talk to students?
Yeah, no, it's definitely easy and it's very exciting to talk to students and see what they're doing. One thing that I would say is definitely when you apply for these internships, don't get discouraged if you don't get in, because I've gotten rejections actually from Google before, and now I'm there 2 years strong. So just you know, keep up taking classes, doing cool projects, and try to figure out what is the area that you like.
Okay.
It's true.
Okay, so speaking about what you like, let's go to our next project. So we're gonna go to the field where Nick is gonna show us a project called Weather Got You Down, using weather data to predict depression.
Let's see it.
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Nick Wong, and we are here with Richard and Todd on their project Weather Got You Down. As a California native moving to the East Coast, the weather gets me down quite often. So I think that this project is particularly fitting. Richard, would you mind telling me a little bit about what your project is? What does it do?
Yeah, sure. So if you're familiar with seasonal affective disorder, right? Generally, like in the winter, people tend to be more depressed than in the summer. So generally, this happens on like a seasonal basis. So we were really interested in looking at if we could predict this on a sort of daily basis.
Okay.
Right?
Wow. Really fine-grained.
Yeah. So to do this, we took 10 years of weather data from NOAA, like a federal agency. And then since we don't have like a real like metric for daily depression, right, we're using Google Trends as a proxy for that. So basically, like for a given city, how many searches for depression there are relative to the total number of Google searches.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah, and that's something that allows us to look at this on a daily basis.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're using kind of Google searches as a proxy for the depression of an area.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Awesome.
So local weather isn't like very inherently local. So we're looking at cities at a time.
Okay, so an entire city and their weather.
Yeah.
Todd, would you mind telling me a little bit about how you guys went about gathering data and what that data looked like?
Gathering is Richard, but my part is about modeling the data.
Okay, how about you tell us a little bit about modeling the data?
So we use an artificial neural network model. We use 2 hidden layers, and in each layer there's 10 neurons. There's a bunch of technicalities with the network architecture, but basically what we're trying to predict is the number of Google search hits for depression-related terms. And some techniques we use are batch normalization, and we also use model checkpoint to prevent against overfitting the model.
Okay.
We tested the model against 3 major cities, New York City, Chicago, and Los Angeles. And the best result was from Chicago. The blue line represents like prediction, and the orange line represents the actual truth.
So the actual number of Google searches
Yes.
on depression.
That's right.
Okay.
So you can see that the model is pretty accurate in predicting the amount of depression in
Yeah.
a given population.
I would be curious, so a lot of times if like a major celebrity dies or someone has some sort of big problem, then you might see a rise in Google searches that aren't related to weather. Did
That's
you guys
right.
account for that?
So we really only noticed this with one celebrity.
Really?
And that is Robin Williams, right?
Wow.
So the day after Robin Williams dies, there's this massive spike in depression searches.
Wow, okay.
And so, there's like an entire portion of the program dedicated to removing this anomaly, right? Because presumably people are searching for depression, not because they're actually feeling down, right? But because they're more interested in depression now.
Okay. Interesting.
So interestingly, like this only occurs for Robin Williams for whatever reason.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So what made you guys decide to research weather and depression and try and link the two?
We're just like, we're just kind of like browsing through different types of data and finding interesting data and potential prediction value that data may have.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't anything like one of you's from Texas or something and was really upset about the weather here.
I personally noticed that like I feel
You feel a little bit more depressed. Okay. That's awesome. So how do you feel CS50 prepared you for this sort of project? I mean, it's machine learning and it's a little bit different from like Speller, for example. So maybe what happened there?
So I guess this project is kind of like a combination of many piece sets together.
Okay.
So I guess what CS50 taught was the different components and how we can combine those components into like a major project, for example.
Okay, very cool. And Richard, do you have something to say about that?
So I think like CS50 also taught us like a lot of the sort of like good practices to have while coding, and those can really help, especially when you have to work with multiple people and you have to integrate code together. Right? Those like consistent good practices.
Yeah, well, and those sorts of things are pretty useful in industry too. Being able to work with other people is kind of useful in the real world. Right. Well, thank you very much for sharing your project with us. It seems very cool, and I'm glad you guys got some kind of results out of that. My name is Nick Wong, and this has been CS50.
Oh, that was such a cool project. Colton, so glad to have you back.
Thank you so much. So glad to be back. And we're going to kick it right away back to the interview station with Amy. And we're going to talk about an app called Music Finder, which is a music searching platform.
Ooh.
Very exciting.
Music Finder.
Amy, and I'm a TF with CS50. Thanks so much for tuning into our live stream. I'm here today with Christine, one of my students, and she's here. Could you maybe introduce yourself and show us what your project is about?
Definitely. So my name's Christine Falk, and I'm a junior in Adams studying applied mathematics. So I'll show you a little bit about my project. So I created Music Finder, which is a music searching platform. I've always had a love of music, so I thought it would be fun to play with the iTunes API. So let's check this out. So if I log into Music Finder, I can log in with my account. And when it brings you to the home page, you can look up any song or artist. So let's look up Taylor Swift.
Sure, I love Taylor Swift.
Me too.
Hey, big favorite.
So what it'll do is it'll load 30 different search results, and every 5 seconds, each search result will move over one spot.
Cool.
So we can see that if you click on the name of the song, that'll take you to the iTunes page. If you want to check out the music video on YouTube, you can click on the video. And if you want to save it to your saved songs list, you can hit save.
Cool.
So let's save Love Story to my saved songs list.
Okay.
So that'll take me to my saved songs list, and now we can say that Love Story is added. I also have music for me, so this is a personalized music song suggester. So it's inspired by a BuzzFeed sort of quiz style. So what you can do is go through and you can look at and pick your zodiac sign, favorite color, and different characteristics, and it'll sort you in one of 12 different personality categories and give you a song recommendation.
Wow.
There's also a random song generator. So if you click random generator, it'll give you the Whiskey Lullaby by Brad Paisley. Not sure if I'm a fan, so let's make another random generator. So we'll check this out. And there's no internet.
That's okay.
Well, it would have generated another random
That's okay,
song
we
if
saw
there
one
was
of them.
the internet. Other features that I have is a playlist feature. So you can like check out like different like sort of like playlists. So I have like rap, country, breakup, boy band songs, and it will give you sort of like 10 songs that I selected, and you can select like the check boxes and save it to your saved songs list. And then I also have the top saved songs on Music Finder, so that looks across all different users and sees, you know, like what's the most trending song, so you can do that. And then you can always check out your saved songs list and like browse and sort them by alphabetically by like the song name or by the artist, and you can always delete any song.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I think when I was looking at a project for the first time, what I was really impressed by was how comprehensive it was and how many features you had. So I can tell it like took a long time. What would you say was like the most challenging part of this project?
Definitely. So I think like the first like most challenging thing was like trying to like understand like the iTunes API and how to like work with it, do the AJAX call, work with the jQuery to call everything and understand that. But after getting through that, I think like the major roadblock was understanding the database and sort of like how to design that. So just like making sure that when I had someone enter a saved song, that it wasn't duplicating entries in my database, and making sure that it was designed so there wasn't sort of like overlap between the database storages. So I was like making sure I was just referencing and calling other tables.
Cool. Yeah. Okay, last question. Why did you take CS50 and did you enjoy it? What do you think is like the best thing you've done this semester?
Definitely. So, because I'm an applied math concentrator, I do have to take a CS class, and I was kind of holding off till junior year to take CS50 because I was a little scared of it. So I finally took it, and I really did like it because, you know, first week, you know, printing hello world and then printing hashtags, that kind of seemed like an insurmountable challenge, but now like feeling like you can like build your own website and do everything, that was like a really like great sort of like opportunity, and you feel like it's really tangible. I think my favorite piece that was probably like the last piece out of doing like the stock site, because that was like really cool and like you felt like you were actually doing something people would use. So
yeah. Cool. Well, thanks so much for joining us today, Christine.
Yeah.
And this is CS50.
Super cool always to see music-related apps. I mean, I'm a big fan of music. I'm a big fan of electronic music.
You're a
big fan of
DJ.
other music.
Don't be humble.
Occasionally.
Yeah, okay, you're, again, responsible for a lot of the music here. You've already gotten great feedback, a couple emails, a couple, you know, nudges, like, ooh, is Colton in charge of music? Because it's hip.
I'm just glad people aren't saying the music sucks and they're like
No
leaving
one's saying
because
the music
is
sucks.
bad.
No.
No, it's great.
People like
There's a
music.
great vibe. I'm a big fan of EDM for these kinds of events. But you're related to the app that we just looked at, which was a music sort of searching app and analysis app. You're also interested in building an app that's related to that, right?
Yes. So I find that I really like organizing my playlist by beats per minute. So one of the things I want to work on over winter break is sort of like using the Spotify API, some sort of web app that will sort of create playlists based on mathematical properties of tracks that I find work well with my brain.
And
I'm so excited.
You said that typically it's something that you notice is like it's beats per minute. That's awesome.
Yeah, definitely beats per minute. Like I think I'm often like, okay, I need a track that is either, you know, a little bit higher, a little bit lower, depending on whether I want to be a bit more alert or a bit less alert, or whether I just want to stay in the state I'm in. So I think it's completely related. That's how my brain processes music. So I love to sort of hear about different ways to think about it. Okay.
Awesome. Well, we're ready for another interview. So it looks like Dylan's ready in the interview room with an app called Club Pub, which is a website for Harvard students to post on.
Ooh.
Hi, this is Dylan from CS50 staff, and I'm here with a project about
called Club Pub, which is about showing all the events on campus for Harvard and also probably possibly other universities as well. So do you guys want to introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit more about your project?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Aoife. I'm a first year in the college. I live in Strauss Hall, and I'm thinking about concentrating in molecular and cellular biology or possibly applied math. And I'm in CS50.
Hi everyone, I'm Carissa. I'm also first year at Harvard. I'm in Thayer and I'm thinking of concentrating in applied math. We also have a third team member who unfortunately is not here with us today for this presentation. His name is Hunter. He's also in a freshman class and he is also in Thayer with me and he's thinking of concentrating in computer science. Yes.
Yeah, great. Yeah. So I want to ask you first about what sort of inspired you guys to do this project. What do you think that, what sort of needs does this address?
Yeah. So we kind of noticed that a lot of the club events and whenever people posted announcements were sort of scattered all over the place. So you'd get an email in one place or a Facebook event and it'd be really hard to find the events when you were looking for them later. So we really wanted to make like a kind of centralized database where you could find all of those events and have it all in one centralized location.
Okay.
Yeah, I think us coming in as freshmen also just gave us that kind of new perspective because like we were just overwhelmed with so much information being thrown at us and like not having everything in one place was very hard to navigate and very overwhelming. So hopefully this website can definitely solve some of those problems.
Yeah, I definitely remember my freshman year and also my sophomore year just walking around like if you miss that 3-hour club activities, like you'll not know what's going on for the rest of your time.
Exactly,
yeah.
exactly.
So do you want to walk us through your project a little bit?
Awesome. Okay, so this is our homepage. Welcome to Club Pub. So first, you'll register for an account. We're probably not going to do this now just because it takes a little bit, but you enter in all your information. You can select event categories that you're interested in, like free food, academics, whatever you want. And then you'll select clubs that you're a member of. So this will give you permission to post events for this club on their behalf on this website. But right now, for this demo, we're just going to log in with our test account. And here you'll see it goes to a feed that has all the upcoming events. So you can scroll through it. Oh, there's us. There's Hunter. And you can look at all the different events that are coming up. So it shows like the date, the time, the location, everything like that. And you can actually click this button right here so you can only view events that have your preferred tags and then apply that. So right now I think the tag is like academic and pre-professional. So everything here is listed under academic and pre-professional, like right there. So yeah. And then another feature that we have is a calendar. So we actually link this with a Google Calendar using the API, which was not fun to deal with, but that's all right. It's good now. And then we have like all the different events, and then you can click on them, and you can actually add it to your own calendar, which is really cool, and you can save it right there. You can also click on Map, and it'll actually take you to where the event is.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a cool feature.
So the next page we have is clubs, and over here you can see all over 500 clubs that are here at the college. So it takes a little bit to load, but once they load, you can click to view the purpose and read more about the club. And then you can also subscribe to clubs here and get an email anytime they post events. So you can also search since there are so many. That way you can just look up any specific one and then subscribe from there, so it's a little bit easier. And in addition to that, if you have permissions, so right now we have permissions for Small Claims Advisory Service, which is one of the clubs. We can go ahead and we could put in all the information to upload an event, and then that would add it to the feed and to the calendar as well. And then over here is the search events page, so you can just view specific events by a particular tag. So you can look at academic and pre-professional, and then only those events will show up. You can search by which club is hosting and also by a specific title. So if we wanted to look for Wix, then this Wix holiday party shows up.
Oh, great.
So yeah, the last thing we have is just like user settings. So you can change some account information over here. You can change your password. You can also look at what you're currently subscribed to and all your current preferences and permissions. And then you can actually update it. So let's just say I'm really interested in PBHA's one-to-one thing. I don't know. Okay, and then we also want to look at free food. And then we could submit changes. Give it a second to load, and then it'll show up right here. So, yeah.
Wow, that's really cool. Can you tell us a little bit about how you think this might be going in the future, and what do you think you learned most from this project? And how do you think it gave you perspective on computer science, or just creating a new sort of thing out of your mind? I don't know, a new project. Yeah.
So I think in the future, our first step is like actually publishing this so that it's not just in the Flask, like our CS50 IDE environment. Because actually during the fair, what we actually really enjoyed was presenting our project and having people tell us like, wow, this is like a really useful website that we'd actually like to use. And like, I think if we could actually get this published and have future Harvard students use it, and current obviously, it would be really cool just to see like our work being actually used in the Harvard community. It would be a really cool thing to see.
Yeah. And in terms of like sort of some of the things we learned and how, just like the skills that we picked up, I think definitely just in CS50 there's a really big emphasis on kind of looking things up and like trying new things and kind of turning to Google and like thinking about things before maybe like asking a TF and trying to do that on your own. And I think a lot of that came into our project by using like the Google Calendar API, and we were able to kind of look up these things, read through the documentation and figure it out for ourselves. And implement all of these really cool things that we hadn't covered within the context of CS50.
Right. Reading the documentation and all that stuff is super dense, but it totally makes you a better programmer, able to just understand things and be able to create new projects based on other platforms. Great. Is there anything else you guys would like to say about your project or anything you learned?
I think one really cool learning experience that we got from like this project is like actively trying to break our website. Like we just like went through the day of like trying to see what we could possibly find errors in, and this is like definitely something that you don't normally do like in any other class. Trying to like tear down everything that you've built up, but I think it was a really good experience. Like we definitely ran into a couple of errors, but just going through and like thinking outside of the box and just thinking like different possibilities that could happen and like how we would remedy that. That was a cool learning experience.
Great, Thank you, Carissa, and thank you, Aoife. And this is CS50.
Awesome. Well, that was a cool project, and it was cool to see that they used Google Calendar as an integration. You know, we do use some API integrations in the course, but I think it's always cool to sort of add those widgets to see where people take the scaffolding that we've given them with finance and be able to take it to the next step.
I really like calendars. Some of my favorite forms of data representation. Another thing I really like is soccer, football. I'm a big soccer fan. And actually, the next project we have up, we're gonna go into the field with Athena, and it's gonna be a Harvard soccer connection. So a way to connect athletes with internships and other opportunities. Can't wait to hear all about it.
Awesome.
Let's go to that.
And they're actually going to be showing us a project that they came up with to sort of connect Harvard soccer players with employment opportunities, recruiters. But I don't want to steal the thunder, so why don't you guys walk us through the website?
All right, awesome. So you want to talk to John?
Yeah, sure. So we have our homepage here, Harvard Soccer Connections. You can get to most of our links here, players, maps, some static pages about Harvard Soccer and us there. But we're going to log in, work you through that process here today. So athlete login. If you already have an account, you can log in, but you can also register there. So we're going to register Athena here. She is going to be honorary member of the women's soccer team. So we
this is unfortunate for the women's soccer team. I am not a good soccer player.
So our register takes us to a form where Athena can input more of her information for putting her into the database itself instead of just creating her account. So she's going to be on the women's soccer team. She is going to be a graduate majoring in computer science with the hometown. We're just going to say she's from Cambridge, Massachusetts. And she is going to be interested in tech. Seems about right. And then you can also put in a LinkedIn that will come up on the card. We're not going to go through the process of inputting that URL for the LinkedIn, and also a profile picture URL that will show the profile picture. This is the card that comes up once we create an account for her. Searching the player database, we come up with the players. It comes up with the default picture of John Harvard, of course. And it has...
That's what I look like.
Yeah, that is exactly what she looks like. So we have everybody we have in the database. We just have us two, someone that stopped by earlier, Ami, and then Athena. And so you can look through all the people there. But we also have a fun function called player search. In player search, we have a search algorithm implemented here where the concentrations of the players in the database are imported. And you can select multiple graduation years or just one if you want. And you can select multiple interests if you want. And based on how those overlap with players in the database and how those matches play out, it will rank
I'm a match.
yeah, she's a match. she is actually one of the best matches. We apparently have no better or good matches, but we have us two are no matches for this particular search. But once there are a lot more players in the database and this gets more widely used, which we'd like it to be, then it will be a lot more filled out.
Great, and so I'll talk a little bit about our interactive map, which is the last part of our website. So from our SQL database, it passed in all of the hometown information to the Google Maps API, and here's a map displayed of everyone who is in the database. So here you can see we have 3 pins for the 3 people that have put their information in. We actually see 2 pins, 2 people in Boston, Athena and Ami, the girl who stopped by earlier. So there's David in Petoskey, Michigan, myself in McLean, Virginia, and the 2 people in Cambridge. So display everyone who's in the database so recruiters can find out how far away the students are from them when looking for students for internships. Here's a little bit about Harvard Soccer, and here's about the creators of the website.
So when you guys were, your mic.
Okay.
So when you guys were thinking about a project like this, what were some of the things that you took into account? Like why a project like this as opposed to something else?
Great, I can speak to that. So our captain spoke to us about the idea of this project because often we were getting emails from recruiters asking, we want to connect athletes with these career opportunities, but it's kind of tedious. We need emails. We got to reach out individually. So if we could somehow distill that process into a single website, that'd be great. So we figured, why not tackle that for the final project?
So is the goal kind of that one day this will be at a level where recruiters can actually use
So ideally,
the site?
we'll move this out of the CS50 IDE onto a real web server, and real recruiters can come visit the page.
Wow, that's great. And then you're going to have to like get people to sign up.
Exactly,
right?
yeah. So we'll send this to all the team, and we can add new kids as new kids come into that program in future years.
That's great. So as you guys were going through this, was there anything in CS50 that like inspired you or informed some of the decisions that you made in terms of features or things that you didn't do?
Yeah, so we were definitely inspired by finance. You know, we both put a lot of work into the finance, so we had a very good understanding of the inner workings of how different pages related, and we just took that to a whole new level, creating many HTML pages for this, and a lot more Python, and our application got PyCode. And so we were definitely inspired by that, and also I think the inspiration of rubber duck debugging kind of came up the past couple days. We were working a ton on it, and there was some stuff that was just like tiny little syntax stuff about how different data was being passed back from the HTML pages, and just the weird format of it, of just being like set within a list and different things that it was slightly different for each different part of the website. And so we really sat down and we literally talked through, okay, so this is this, and we were able to, eventually figure it out. But I think that definitely was an inspiration from CS50 that helped us a lot.
Yeah. So I noticed that for your Google Maps, you must be using the Google API. We used a little bit of an API in finance, but we configured that for you. What was it like reading through documentation and actually putting that in yourself?
So I tackled this part of the website, and I can definitely say there are a lot of obstacles here. We were going from Flask to JavaScript, and the 2 languages aren't necessarily compatible, so we had to read a ton of documentation about converting that to JSON and into another language. So I think, given that we didn't know much about that process, the skills that CS50 taught us about reading documentation, learning on your own, Googling, being kind of independent in that way was super helpful, just because we came in not knowing at all how to approach the problem, and we ended up getting the result we wanted. So.
Right. So based on that experience, if you were going to write an API, what are things you would think of?
Right. I think Google does a great job of making the API as user-friendly as possible. But if I were to write an API, I would just take into account people who don't have much experience and are trying to integrate the process. So for instance, Google makes it easy. You can just plug in your city and your state or your country, and it will work. So I think making it approachable and easily integratable would be what I would focus on.
Yeah, how about you?
I would say to just keep it well documented. Also, there's a lot of we've encountered a lot of different documentation. Bootstrap is fantastic, and it's so helpful when it's clear and concise. And that's a big thing I've learned from this class, is that you can really, once you have the fundamentals of coding down, obviously you still need to be taking classes and stuff, but you can learn so much from literally just going on the internet and looking at documentation that's clear and concise. And if it makes sense, you can learn it yourself. And I think that's absolutely huge.
Yeah, so you're here at the fair now. It's been 9-10 weeks since the beginning of the class, since Scratch and the Mario Pyramid, and I'm sure we all remember how long that took me. I know for me as a student, I struggled more with Mario than any of the others. Like final thoughts on how far you've come before we wrap up?
Sure, I can speak to this quickly. I would say David harped on this the first few weeks of the class, given the reputation of the class and the difficulty, saying that you will make a lot of progress comparing yourself week 0 to week 10. And I would say that's incredibly true. I mean, there were late nights David and I were discussing how to approach a problem, and we would take a moment and be like, wow, we really just had that conversation, which would have seemed incredible to us, 10 weeks ago. So I think trusting that the class will get you prepared to approach these types of issues.
Yeah, the moment actually came up kind of last night when we were looking at stuff and we were like, wow, like I can't believe we're actually like talking like this and like working through stuff like this fast.
Writing APIs.
Writing APIs, and so no, it's so crazy. But like I feel like we've come so far, and just I think the amount of languages we've learned this semester has been kind of wild, and I think that's great for just us just like getting our feet wet in a lot of different places, a lot of different languages, and I think that kind of approach really helps with understanding conceptually rather than all the nitty-gritty technical details. Conceptually understanding different languages and different concepts of how coding really works allows you to further your learning in the ways I was talking about before, on your own. So.
Right, that's great. All right, well, thank you both so much for talking to me. I really hope this helps people in their job search.
Awesome, great.
My name's Athena, and this is CS50.
Oh, it's always so great to have students sort of like reflect and look back at their term and see how far they've come.
Indeed, so many have come so far.
So far, really from like 0 to 100, which is so exciting.
And you're a big soccer fan or football.
I'm a big football fan. Yeah, so it was cool to sort of see them bring that into their project.
Yeah, so we have another interview set up already in our interview
That's
station.
Exciting.
So we're going to take a look at Amy giving a student giving a presentation on a Morse code translator.
Beep.
Very appropriate.
Beep.
Morse.
Hi everyone, if you're just tuning in, my name is Amy and here with me is Leon. I'm really excited about his project. Do you want to introduce yourself and maybe tell us about your project?
Sure. I'm Leon, I'm a sophomore in Mather. I'm studying applied math and I took CS50 and I love the class and I'm excited to show you my project. So I did a Morse code translator. I guess giving some context for this, we really enjoyed some of the ciphering presets and also movies such as The Imitation Game, which encode and decode information. Morse code is also something that we can implement using a lot of kind of user feedback, such as like pressing the spacebar. So I'll just give you a demo of this. So basically you can either tap this blue button or tap your spacebar. A tap is a dot and a press is a dash. And if you want to go between letters, you kind of leave a space. So that's like a second space. And then you can type out Morse code. So I'm going to type out my name. At the bottom, when you're done tapping, it'll print out your Morse code in English and also read it back to you. So I'm going to type out my name now. Then wait for a space. And then we tap when done. It says Leon, that's my name. As you can see, there's also kind of translate, so we want to also maybe translate between English and other languages. So I'm gonna tap in hello, and then you can see some of the translation functionality there. So let's do hello. Wait for a space. Okay. And you see we can have hello, and then if we want to do it in a different language, such as Chinese, it updates it for you. So that was like the main crux of our project. There are also other like kind of easier implementations for if you just want to manually enter in Morse code. So I'll do my name again. And you get Leon, and then also just if you want to encode, such as if you want to have a message that you want to transfer into Morse code, you can just like write my name here and yeah, it prints it out for Morse code. So that was the basic crux of our project. We think Morse code is the language of the future because in no other context can you send messages as quickly as Morse code. So that's why this is such a relevant project. But in general, on a more serious note, we're really happy to collaborate on this project. Me and my partner, he can make it, but it's a really nice instance of being able to integrate what we learned in CS50, extend it further, and really just develop a passion for a project. So it's really fun to make.
Yeah, okay, so just one question. I know you mentioned a little bit, you said that like your inspiration was from, you really liked the encryption and like sort of presets we did. What was probably the most challenging part for you?
Sure. Yeah, so when I mentioned the manually decode and encode pages, so those were really easy because you could just submit a form or just like a message in here. The hardest part was using kind of like the translate feature where we had to sense like how long we were pressing a button or how long we were pressing the space key. And in addition, we also had to time how long between spaces. So that would be like if we wanted to enter a space into our Morse code or into our translation. So like we had to use a lot of JavaScript. The majority of our project was actually JavaScript. And we also wanted, as you can see, when we enter in our Morse code, it kind of shows your progress moving forward. So we had to do a lot of jQuery requests. That was something that was pretty difficult in PSET, so it was really fun to kind of tease out in this project.
Cool, well thanks so much for joining us today, Leon. And this is CS50.
I actually really like that project. I'm actually a big fan of Morse code and more so.
Do you use Morse code in your daily life? Do you text?
I don't, but it's actually one of sort of my like, it's on my languages to learn list. I think it's really interesting. I think it can be useful in like a very specific, small amount of situations.
It's like it's almost like studying almost like ancient Greek or Latin.
Yeah.
For not necessarily
more
use
mathy.
it now. It's just, a little bit more mathematical, a little bit more encrypted. We have another project in the field. So
Whoa,
Nick is going to show us a project called Genedex, which is an annotation of gene names that you can browse through.
Like
so let's take a look at that. Yes, yes, exactly.
Awesome, hello. So my name is Nick and we are here with Sasha and Genedex. So basically, would you like to tell us a little bit, Sasha, about how it works and basically all that it does?
Yeah, so pretty much Genedex is a Google Chrome extension that can annotate gene names as you're browsing the web. My inspiration for it was I used to work as a case analyst for like genetic analysis, and you get a big list of genes back from genome sequencing, that the patient had mutations in.
Okay.
And you'd be browsing the web looking for information about the certain disease the patient has, and you would want to keep track of which genes that the patient has mutations in are appearing on the web browser.
Okay.
So this is a pretty simple extension that can annotate.
All right, so what are we looking at on screen right now?
So on screen we're on Google Chrome right now, and we have our extension already loaded.
All right, so you've loaded Genedex?
Yeah, so we open this panel here in the corner. And we can load our list of gene names in. So now if we reopen the panel, we'll see that they're all loaded in here. This is coming from a text file that the user has.
Okay, sure.
And so now if we refresh our page here.
So basically genes of interest, yeah?
Exactly.
Awesome.
So these are all cancer genes that I added for the demo.
Okay, awesome.
So now since we're on the breast cancer website, we'll start to see all the breast cancer genes.
Hard to miss.
Exactly, yeah. So the idea is that they'll pop out at you, so if you encounter something that the patient might have a mutation in, then it'll be clear to you while you're reading it.
Oh, that's fantastic. Okay, so how do you envision this tool being used by research scientists, students, all of the above?
Yeah.
I guess what would be your general use case for it?
So I guess the use case would be what I mentioned, which is to keep track of when you're encountering these mutations that your patient has. Additionally, I think I would want to expand this so that you'd have some annotated information, like information about the protein expression and other type of stuff about the.
So really useful like research knowledge whenever we do this on our browsers. That's awesome. How come you chose a Chrome extension as opposed to an independent web app or like a terminal script or something like that?
I chose Chrome extension partly because it's not too hard to build, but also partly because it's the best way to interact directly with your web browsing experience. So it was the most efficient way to just have that information on the screen.
Okay, awesome. So I take it you use Chrome quite a bit?
Yeah.
And you also research often?
Yeah.
Very cool. Do you feel like most research scientists would kind of benefit from a tool like this, where it helps them kind of very quickly parse through articles and just see what's useful?
I think so, especially for people that have a lot on their mind, like, because they might be working in different cases, and so they might have gene names from one person's case in their mind, but not remember if which case it corresponds to.
Okay.
So this would be a way, if they could load their specific, gene list for the current patient they're working on, it would keep track in their mind of which genes they should be looking for.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Did you ever consider the other issue of, or I guess the reverse issue, of maybe given an article, can you find all the gene names that are mentioned in this article? Did that ever cross your mind, or are you very focused on just kind of this use case?
So originally the way to do that would just be to have a list of all whatever 20,000 genes that there are. The problem is the local storage in Chrome is not that great. So when I tried to feed it a list of all 20,000 whatever genes, it didn't really
doesn't really take that too well.
Yeah, it didn't really hold it well. So it works better when you have a bit of a smaller selection. Yeah.
Okay. Very, very cool. Well, thank you so much for sharing your project with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
This is GeneDex. My name is Nick. This is Sasha, and this is CS50.
My name is David Malin, and this is CS50, and I've been here for the past few hours with
Colton Ogden
and Veronica Nutting.
And we wanted to take a special moment here toward the end of our stream to call out the 17+ members of CS50's production staff who we haven't seen on camera, but behind camera here in the booth and hearing this live right now have done an amazing job at making this 3+ hour live stream possible.
Yeah, shout out to them. It's an amazing production work that we have this year, and every year, honestly.
Indeed. Thanks so much to everyone who's been tuning in on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, and soon on demand thereafter. Can't wait, honestly, for me to go home tonight and kind of watch all the things that I
can't
missed.
wait to watch this exact stream.
Indeed. I hear it was a good stream.
Yeah,
Very well
we heard good
we had a good time. It was fun.
And now all of this fall semester's materials are going to be released as we annually do via OpenCourseWare and via edX and iTunes and YouTube starting January 1st, 2019. So feel free to tune into all of the same materials that these students here learned and leveraged to build their amazing projects today. And then, of course, if you yourself would like to join us in September, October, November of 2019, come on by and join us for one of CS50's lectures. If you finish the course yourself anywhere in the world, see if you can join us for CS50's Fair a year hence. Love to see you and shake your hand in person.
It was amazing fun co-hosting with Veronica.
So much fun.
Thank
Always
you
a
so
pleasure.
Much. A sort of repeat of how we did the stream a couple weeks ago on Python. Felt very similar to that.
Always so fun to spend time with you.
Thank you very much. Looking forward to more of those on twitch.tv/Cs50TV, which we've started recently.
Indeed. Keep an eye out for both of these folks and other members of the CS50 team there. Facebook.com/CS50, YouTube.com/CS50. So many places to tune in to computer science.
Our faces,
CS50 itself. Well, thank you so much to you both, especially. Could not have done this so well without you.
Ditto.
Tremendous amount of fun.
I think it's time to sign off then.
Sounds good.
Thank you for tuning in, world. This was the CS50 Fair. And this.
I was hoping should we say it in unison?
Sure.
Okay,
well, I thought we were, but.
Okay, well, you
strong
sort of,
finish. Ready?
Okay.
And this
was
this was
CS50.
CS50.